has been a civil war waging for the last 2 years, and those asylum seekers or economic migrants who make it from Sudan to the UK have a 99% chance of being given leave to remain. So I spent several hours talking to immigration chiefs here in Benghazi on the east side of Libya. The Libyan National Army has a very good grip on the immigration problem, albeit fighting against a huge crisis with limited resources. There is a very, very clear process of giving people proper health checks, the life-saving care that they need, and then working out where it is exactly that they've come from. Their message to the UK is that you are fueling this problem. You are effectively advertising a great new life for people from sub-Saharan Africa. They actually said, you know, what do you think happens when a guy from Sudan comes up through Libya and makes his way all the way to the UK and gets put in a luxurious hotel and provided with everything? And make no mistake, it is a perilous journey. We see it from the end point. We see the channel crossing as the dangerous bit, but actually where these journeys begin is in the hot desert. Many tens of kilometers have to be covered on foot by these migrants, and as many as 1 in 4 do not make it. That means bodies in the desert. The Libyan authorities are having to recover bodies in the desert. About the UK and how much awareness. Please understand the scale of what we are dealing with here with very, very limited resources. Once again, you know, people come in from charities, from NGOs, they use warm words, and the authorities here told me the only thing that we ever get is maybe a few toothbrushes and some nappies for the babies.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hey, very good morning to you, my friends. Welcome along. What is it? Thursday, the 8th of January. You're with, of course, Talk. It's the home of Alarm Clock Brits and the home of Common Sense Talk. We're on until 10 o'clock, the Jeremy Kyle Breakfast Show. And as ever, if you want to be part of the debate, we'll tell you how straight away this morning. There's so much in the news. You can ring us. By the way, Christian had an important family thing today. We wish him luck. This is like the old days, the reuniting of me and Ryan from Drive Time. Lanky is producing the show, ladies and gentlemen. 6'8", a Watford fan, and he's got a spring in his step and his hat's at a jaunty angle. He's also not particularly good at computers, so send him as many voice notes as you possibly can and watch him mess them up. 0344 499 1000 to get hold of us via voice note or call, and as ever, if you want to text the show with your thoughts throughout the morning, 87222. We'll talk. There's so much going on. Can I just say that storm is a reality. Storm Goretti, which sounds like some sort of coffee, is on the way. They're talking 80-mile-an-hour winds. They're talking 12 inches of snow, if only. But we will update you. Claire Nazir, who I'm going to make my resident meteorologist. We used to work on ITV. She will hopefully be with us later on. But if you are out and about and travelling today, genuinely, let us know where you are. Let us understand how it is wherever you are across the United Kingdom. So much in the papers. Rapists and violent thugs were hired by the Met in a rush to recruit officers over every single newspaper. Front of the Telegraph today. Met Police hired black child rapist to boost diversity credentials. That, of course, on the back of Wayne Couzens and Carrick. Horrendous. We'll speak to Peter Blexley about the Met madness later. I want to start today by trying to be nice to Keir Starmer. Oh, no, I don't. Labour's planned fuel duty rise, yes, just to increase everything else, petrol's now going to cost, is to be phased in over 6 months from September, it's emerged. Now, I would suspect that Dreary Kia will probably have to do yet another U-turn on this, because the fuel duty rise will be the first time in 15 years. OK, this temporary cut there's been will be axed, and now petrol will cost a lot more, along with your energy and your food and everything else. But don't worry, as you heard in the news, he managed to speak to Trump last night about Greenland. Not that the Donald give us a toss, really, what Keir Starmer thinks, but we'll talk all about that. There's so much in the papers, right? Things like, Britain hits the skids as roads go ungritted. Question for you. You know those people that drive gritting lorries, what do they do for the rest of the year? I was driving up the motorway and I see all these people surrounding lorries getting ready to grit. And by the way, doesn't that hack you off because it hits your car and scratches it, right? It's obviously good for preventing accidents. But what do those people do? Do they draft in, I'm a gritter? What are you for the rest of the year? My favourite story of the morning, two of them. Thanks, Ryan. We can vote in 2029? Nobody told us. 12-year-olds have no idea that they could be behind who the next government is. 12. Try telling them. Sit them down. I'm not going to tell you about the birds and the bees, because you probably know more about that. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell you all about how you can vote for the next government. Sod off, I'm playing Roblox on iPhone. All right, I'll tell you another time. And also, Ryan thinks this is great in the Times. Over 60s spend their time being creative as old age creeps up on them. Thanks, mate. 6:05. Now, of a morning, we had a lovely paper reviewer, and today, delighted to say, a very good morning, this is a man with more titles, really, than any other politician in the history of the world. Tory MP, Matt Vickers, a very good morning.
Good morning. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you. Still, I mean, I don't know about you. It was cold, now it's warmer. I'm sweating like a pig this morning. It's a nightmare, this
Well,
weather.
it was significantly colder outside on Monday when I was talking to you. And today, look at me, I'm in the studio, there's coffee, there's heating.
It's all going on.
As good as it gets.
Let's get straight to it. It is a story that I have real feelings about. The Metropolitan Police hired officers who failed background checks to boost diversity, including a man accused of raping a child. We know about the Met. We know about the animal that was Wayne Couzens. We know about the animal that was David Carrick. The Met was one of at least 6 forces to secretly drop employment checks on new recruits in a rush for extra cash as part of an attempt to find 20,000 new officers. Now, I know the Tory party will be on the back foot, and I will always say this to you because decimating the police forces started under Theresa May. But you are in charge of policing for the Tories. That is absolutely disgusting at a time where people, and I'm not trying to be shocking, have an increasing lack of belief in the police.
Well, it's utterly unbelievable. I mean, if you carry on reading that story, it tells you they failed to take up references. So of all the people who employ, or whoever in the world, the police force doesn't take up the references and do the background checks on the people it's employing. It's unbelievable. But then you put that into the mix with the Tel Aviv, the Maccabi Tel Aviv stuff and what went on there, the utter failings, and you wonder why nobody has confidence in the police. But there's two sides to this, isn't there? A, these things are disastrous, disgusting, and people need to be held to account. But every time one of these stories comes out, we undermine the police, hard-working men and women out there on the front line. You undermine the trust that the public can have in them. There are people who go out there and serve the public as police officers who deserve our respect, and this just muddies the thing.
But isn't that the issue? So to me, what you've just said is so on the money, because is it that we feel that we shouldn't criticise the police because there are thousands of policemen and women who do an amazing job? But at the same time, if there are root problems, if there are reasons that the service is, and not just because there are a few of them, this is, I mean, in any given world, any given business, you don't do employment checks. You're employing rapists. You're employing violent thugs. That makes a mockery of what me growing up the police was supposed to be, which was the organisation that protected us and did the difference between right and wrong. I saw some footage this week from just a horrible shoplifting example where 4 thugs went into a shop and literally took one of those bins in, right? And literally everybody just stood there, not a policeman or woman inside. So people already have very little respect. This just pushes it in the other direction. I
think, well, there's one thing I need to correct you on as well. When the Conservatives were in office, we left office with more police on Britain's streets than ever before. There were more police than ever before. And since Labour, 18 months into a Labour government, there are 1,316 less coppers on our streets.
I know
They're
that,
taxing you more, you're paying more,
but
it's all going on benefits.
But Theresa May decimated the police
But we
force.
put them all back on the streets. When Boris got elected, 20,000 more police went onto the streets. There's more police than ever.
But you know what I'm going to say? But was that this story says that your attempts or desire to put 20,000 more meant that corners were cut for
that's
diversity.
bad management. The person who makes such a decision to allow references not to be checked for police officers, who fails to undertake proper background checks, that person needs. You can't say shoot him because that would probably be taken literally and considered a threat. But they should be held to account. They should be held to the highest possible standards.
This being held to account stuff as well, right? So you talk about the Maccabi Tel Aviv. It's patently obvious. I don't know if you've been following the story, guys, but in Birmingham, Maccabi Tel Aviv, a Jewish-based, Israeli-based football team, was going to play the Europa League against Aston Villa, and the local police said they made a community decision based on what everybody else was saying, that it would be in the best interest if a team that had violent followings, thugs. Turns out that they were doing it specifically because of a Muslim vote in Birmingham that was concerned, and people were putting out videos and stuff, and the police chief has lied. You're sitting there saying whoever made the decision about the Met, whoever made the decision about the West Midlands has to take responsibility. Blexley will tell me later that the police forces in this country are run by people who know nothing about police work, who have got a degree, are ticking boxes, they're not on the street, they don't know what's going on, and it needs it needs taking down, he says, from the top, not from the bottom.
Well, did you hear what Kemi had to say about it?
No.
The woman with the backbone.
The woman with the
backbone. The woman with the spine. She said
yes,
that the chief constable's got to go. It's in the paper somewhere. She said he's got to go, and she's right. People need to be held to account for these decisions because it undermines. There are thousands of police out there. They've got up to work this morning. They've put their lives on the line to keep our streets safe.
Yeah.
And they are tarred with the brush.
You don't see them.
The police. Actually, those people responsible for this need to be held to account so that we can trust those hard-working police officers.
Peter Blexley will say to me later, this is the senior police who have climbed the greasy pole. I know him that well. Climbed the greasy pole and tick every single box there is to tick for that reason, and they have absolutely no idea what's going on the streets. Love to get your thoughts on this Met madness. I think it's disgusting. It's on the front page of the Telegraph today. Met police hired black child rapist to boost diversity credentials. You look at what's happening in Birmingham, you look there and you think, my God, what is going on? Let's just throw this out there, right? Do you have trust in the police? Do you? I mean, I'm afraid I don't, increasingly. I mean, you can sit there and say, and I'm like you, I respect the men and women who are doing a job. But if my shop gets ransacked and I don't get anybody round, if my granny's back door or house gets broken into and she gets assaulted in the street or my watch gets nicked, am I going to see a cop? No. So when I'm paying my bloody taxes, why should I have confidence in the police force?
Well, fundamentally, everything's going the wrong way at the minute because there are less police on the streets than there were when this government came to office. They're also letting all these criminals out early.
Yeah.
They're releasing them from prison early. They're putting more of them back onto the streets. What do we expect? Do you know, what do we expect at that point? More people released early, less police on the streets. The consequences are there for everyone.
It's like a drive time renewal this morning. Ryan, top producer, is just doing it for 2 days, actually. I'm here tomorrow. 0344 499 1000. What do you make of this? Let's get your voice notes in. Also your text, 87222. Start your message with the word talk. Jez, I listen normally on demand, but wanted to message as someone living, working and running a business in London. I've had enough. I've lived in London 30 years, never known it so bad. Today, I have brought a very legal spray fab gel in the event of an attack. Never have I felt the need to do this. Also got one for my daughter too. I am looking to get out of London. New Year, down my street there was a lunatic with a zombie knife. I am done. I am out of this country. This is Helena. I am now leaving to go to work 6 a.m. Why the hell do I bother? Because I'll probably be paying for illegal migrants. Yesterday, a big decision in London by Reform. Layla Cunningham, get in there, is going to stand against Sadiq Khan. I suggest that what the Tory party should do is step aside in London and allow Layla Cunningham to do what she said she's going to do, which is restore law and order and get Sadiq Khan out of this city.
So there's two interesting bits to this.
He's right going for me.
The first bit is these democratic parties that many of us are involved in, not the one-man band that's Reform. We usually have contests where people who pay the membership get to decide who the candidate should be. This one, what happened to you? Just Farage goes in and anoints you, and in you go. It seems like Reform Party members are a bit disenfranchised, but bigger than that.
Yes.
Do you know the background to Layla Cunningham? Do you know the background to it? Do you know where she stood last for election?
No.
She was going to be the Tory candidate in Rotherham and then pulled out at the last minute. I don't know whether that's because she didn't think she'd win or what the story was.
Probably because she realised that the Tory party wasn't barking up the right tree.
She was keen to be the Tory candidate in 2024 and then pulled out at the last minute. She might yet pull out of this contest. Who knows?
Wow.
Who knows?
He's given it some this morning. Layla Cunningham, she's been on this station an awful lot, will be the Reform candidate for London. But on the bigger issue of law and order, be it in London or Manchester or Birmingham or Glasgow or Edinburgh, for me, law and order is and should be central to the next election. And stories like this on the front of every newspaper about how rapists and violent thugs were hired in a rush because Met Police or other forces wanted to tick boxes is absolutely disgusting and should frighten people. Text, by the way, 87222. Morning, Jez. Not only did the top tier of the police lie to Parliament and the public, sack white officers for misdemeanours and then employ diverse rapists and violent criminals, what this is to do is to appease the left. It meets target. Surely, says Mark, an ex-Met police officer in Selby, politics should be kept out of policing. Absolutely, but police and crime commissioners I've never had belief in or confidence in. We've got a home office that I'm told repeatedly is not fit for bleeding purpose. What is fit for purpose?
Well, I mean, we talk about accountability. Sadiq Khan is the police commissioner for London. I mean, just look at what's happening on the streets of London with knife crime out of control. This guy doesn't have a clue.
He's a disgrace.
Accountability.
Man.
Politics, you do need to be able to boot the person out when they do an absolutely terrible job.
Yeah.
That's what it should be about. For some reason, the people of London keep getting it wrong and allowing this guy to carry on as the Mayor of London. Hopefully they're going to get a good Conservative candidate and sort it all out.
Wow, he's on it. Talk, good morning. JK, we've already had about 12 inches of snow in Aberdeen for nearly a week. Storm Goretti is on the way. 90-mile-per-hour gusts and 12 inches of snow, ladies and gentlemen. So wherever you are in the United Kingdom, please get organised. Let us know what's happening. Morning to... Do you know a woman called Rachel? It's interesting. I'm liking the dark shirt. You look very dashing. Talking of dashing, this was sent at 5:56. Can you get the dashing Matt Vickers on this morning? It's Thursday.
Yeah.
That's from Rachel. What do you mean, yeah? I'll be joining you to the Met Police in a minute with an attitude like that. Right, OK, so...
My mum's called Rachel. It's my mum.
Is it your mother?
No, it's not really.
She's not your mum. Can we go to the Sun on page 2 as well? We're talking about knife crime. We're talking about police forces and a lack of belief. Keir Starmer, my favourite subject, I'm afraid, every single day. Let's firstly start, right, with yesterday's Prime Minister's question time. I don't know if we've got any clips. We've got any clips today. We've not got clips. He was absolutely skewered again by Cammy Bednock, but what I particularly liked was the Prime Minister being told off by the Speaker of the House of Commons. I mean, he was told, sit down, you naughty boy. He started blabbering. Is he losing the plot, genuinely?
I think time's marching on for the guy. I think he's running to the end of the road now.
You're smirking when you say this.
Well, I mean... Do you know why? Because it should fill us all with delight. When you look at what's happening out there, the fact that everybody who runs a business, who gets up early, goes to work, is being battered with unprecedented levels of tax. They're being put out of work, businesses closing, people put out of a job, because this guy and in his chum in number 11 are doing untold damage to this country. The sooner he's gone, the better. Well, I'd rather we selected the Prime Minister to have a raffle than went on with this guy.
But we talk about this every day on the show. The alternative is potentially David Miliband.
Well,
no, Ed Miliband. Sorry, David.
David's probably a better choice.
Yeah. Ed Miliband, the net zero zealot, the man who was an appalling...
Is it possible to make a worse job of it, though? That's the question. Is it possible for him to make a worse job of it?
Let me ask you a question. The Tories lost the last election massively. You won your seat against all odds, and fair play to you. That's democracy. Did you think, and don't just say yes because that's what the Tory party would. Tell me from your guts. Did you think it could be this bad, this bloody quickly? Because I didn't.
We knew it would be bad. We knew they'd make a mess, but we didn't realise they'd make this much of a mess this quick. I mean, every red light on the dashboard is going when it comes to the economy. But that's actually the one difference between between the party that everybody should be voting for and all the rest, is it's all about the economy, actually. Because if you can't go to work, if you can't earn a living, what possible outlook can you have?
Yeah. No, I couldn't agree more. So today his misery continues. Somebody said to me, he spoke to Donald Trump overnight about Greenland. Yeah, did he take his call? Do I give a damn? What I do give a damn about is on page 2 of The Sun. 5p fuel duty cut to end in the autumn. So he's now going to screw motorists. The planned fuel duty rise is to be phased in over 6 months, it's emerged. But Sir Keir is already under pressure to perform a U-turn on the move so he can honour his pledge to make voters feel better off? Because, yes, on Kunzberg at the weekend he said, 2020, I'm doing it again. I don't mean to, it just happens. 2026 will be the year that I make you feel better off. But in 6 months, I'm going to make not only your food more expensive and your energy bills more expensive, it's going to cost you a bloody fortune to drive your car anywhere.
Well, do you remember Rishi said if it moves, they'll tax it. Your pension, your job, the taxi tax. So if you don't drive, if you've got an electric vehicle, they're taxing you.
Don't
if you're
get
driving
me
your
on
own
them.
car, the tax is going up. If you get a taxi, if you get an Uber or you're getting taxed on that now. It's unbelievable. But moreover, all of these businesses, when you look, every single thing that could possibly be taxed is being taxed. Business rates are up, national insurance is up, you name it, it's up. And somebody's got to pay for it. And where's it all going? It's not putting more police on the streets. It's not sorting out the backlog in the NHS. It's all going on benefits. It's limitless amounts of benefits, uncapped benefits.
He's on it this morning at 6:20. Morning to Tony Gall and Jez. Two-tier Kia's approval rating is 11%. That makes Trump good. Morning, Jez. Another morning of getting up at 3 a.m. to pay for the work shy and illegal migrants. At least I have you to keep me company. Andrew in Trowbridge. Morning, Tony. Samart Ruddy should resign and the Metropolitan Police should be put into special measures. Absolute disgrace. Linda Cook. Morning, JK. She's in Worcester. Matt Vickers and every other Tory... that is on fails to accept... She calls you shyster. Except every time any responsibility for their part in the disaster that is now the UK. Labour are only in power solely and completely solely because of the mess that your lot made. Vickers treats our lives like it's a game. You can respond.
I can respond. Well, I don't think it's fair to say that we don't accept what went wrong under the last government, the mistakes that were made under the last government. I think everybody's been quite upfront about that. But if you think they were going to sit back and, I mean, look at the economy. Before the election,
yep,
we had near record levels of employment. Inflation was on target. Things were going the right way. We were the fastest growing economy in the G7. We're now the slowest growing in the G7. We've got 21% more people unemployed. Things are going the wrong way. There are choices. There was mistakes made. But we've got to get out there. We've got to make an offer. And we've got to get on with the job. I heard this morning that Keir Starmer is actually less popular in the UK than Maduro was in Venezuela. And 8 million people left Venezuela to get away from him. Like, this thing is going, however bad it was, it's getting a hell of a lot worse.
That is my favourite start. Listen, it's Talk Breakfast, the home of common sense. Jeremy Kyle till 10. If you want to be on, you know the way. Get hold of Ryan, seriously, with those voice notes. 0344 419 1000. So much in the news. Matt Vickers, or Vackers? Mick Vatters is here. We'll be back in 3.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Good morning, my friends. 6:25. It's not as chilly as it was. It's Thursday morning. You would Talk. It's the home of common sense and the home of alarm clock Brits. We want you involved. Matt Vickers, who's got more titles than the King, to be honest, is here. Deputy Party Chairman, Home Office Minister. In fact, a right clever dick, if ever there was one. Morning, Jez. Generally, I don't mind Matt Vickers, but his flippant, snide dismissal of Layla Cunningham's candidacy in London is very poor. She is an excellent candidate for London Mayor, and if the Tories hadn't totally screwed up and forgotten their founding principles, she could have been their candidate. If I was a Londoner, she would be getting my vote. Nicola from Norfolk, you can can respond.
You should be lucky not to be a Londoner. It's always a positive thing not to be a Londoner, I think. But no, I think there's two very valid points. I think that the members of Reform should have a say in who their candidate was. I also think it's a valid point that she stood as the Tory candidate and dropped out at the last minute. Hopefully she won't drop out of this contest.
Jonathan Gullis quit the Tory party. Many people. Danny Kruger left the Tory.
Not imminently before an election. You know, you get selected. It's like, yeah, let's say you're going to run for... We should have you as the Tory candidate in London. That would be quite good.
Yeah, that would be good. Have we got that clip, please? Layla Cunningham yesterday was on Harry Cole Saves the West. Have you got Layla Cunningham's clip from there? Oh, it's being cut at the minute. It's all going really well this morning, isn't it? I thought we were ready with that. They need to be cut straight away. Layla Cunningham, yeah, listen, I mean, each to his own. But, you know, I looked at the last mayoral London. Sean Bailey wasn't the greatest. I like that woman, Sue, but you need somebody with something.
You need a Boris again.
What? Oh, no, that's
You're
not
the
good.
man, Jesse, you're the man.
No.
Independent, come on.
I knew this was going to happen today. I absolutely knew this was going to happen. Can we talk briefly about the situation in Greenland? I know for many people, and it seems to be, of course, in everybody's sights and on every newspaper, there was that footage yesterday of the Belawan oil tanker being captured by US and UK forces. This is a Venezuelan ship teeming with oil, basically heading towards Russia, it seems. The US and the UK decided to intercept it. I think Trump's theory is that the oil from Venezuela would make it a very rich country, but it's being siphoned off for Maduro and all of his cohorts, and they're going to Russia and China, and that's why, you know, that took place. Greenland, this fascinates me, right? And I'd love to know your opinion. I watched Badenoch having a go at Starmer yesterday. You should be here, you should be explaining. Is this just Trump posturing? Because I said this yesterday. When he came in, he slagged off NATO and said, I'm paying billions and you lot play nothing, and everybody jumped into line. Is this him just trying to put, right, his foot down and say, you lot need to come to the party more? Is this him being the typical salesman that he is, shaking everybody up to get the answers that he wants, maybe halfway? Or is he literally going to invade Greenland?
I mean, do you remember when he posted that really weird Twitter video of Gaza and said, you know, calling it Trumpland or whatever, and he created all this imagery as if he was going to go over
hotels.
And all of a sudden people started having discussions. So I think part of Trump's strategy in the world is to shake the table and see what happens and things come out of it. But there is a really serious point. We've talked for years about the fact we're living in this increasingly dangerous world. Well, I mean, look at what the papers are filled with. Look at what's happened in the last week. We are living in that dangerous world. We need to get to that 3% on defence. We need to make sure that we have the men and women in place to do the business and that they have all the kit that we could possibly give them. Now, we're not in that place yet. You saw yesterday, Starmer, flailing around about when we will get to that 3%.
Well, let's actually look at this, because your boss, Kemi, and I'm going to come back with a criticism, but you'll expect that. Kemi Bennett, she absolutely attacked the Prime Minister, who started to fluster, and the Speaker had to go at him. She basically said something that I think most of us would agree with. He looks utterly pointless on the world stage. Have a watch, have a listen.
The last few days have seen significant international events. The US operation in Venezuela, threats towards Greenland, and an agreement to put British troops on the ground in Ukraine. So it is frankly astonishing that the Prime Minister is not making a full statement to Parliament today. No Prime Minister, Labour or Conservative, has failed to make a statement to the House in person after committing to the deployment of British troops. His comments about making a statement in due course, quite frankly, are not good enough.
I mean, she's right, isn't she? I mean, and we're going to get some clips of him as well. He was just like out of his, again, looked out of his depth. But I just, you know, the news when I was coming in this morning. Last night, the Prime Minister spoke to Donald Trump. Donald Trump doesn't give a toss about Keir Starmer, does he? Can we just nail this? He didn't tell him about what was happening in Venezuela. He got his second trip to the United Kingdom, his royal trip, and the next day dissed him. I mean, we can sit here on a daily basis, Matty, and we can say, it's a disgrace what's happening in this country, with the police, that story today, with knife crime, with the borders, with the NHS, with our armed forces, right? But the truth of the matter is, we look ridiculous at home and even more ridiculous. I think we've become pointless on the world stage. I really do.
Well, I mean, government exists to protect its citizens. That's its overriding responsibility. We need to know, as Kemi, we need to know when he's going to get to that 3%. We need to be in that space now. Look at what is going on in the world around us, and we are not investing what we should be investing in defence. There's a plan there from Kemi about how you should deliver that. But worse than that, when you look at what's happening to our veterans in Northern Ireland, who puts themselves forward now? You are putting anybody who wants to go and put themselves forward for service, looks at what's happening to those veterans and thinks, why the hell should I put my life on my line for my country when you've got this going on in the background and you get into your collecting your pension 40, 50 years down the line and they decide to allow you to be dragged through the cost. It's utterly disgraceful what he's doing to our veterans. It's entirely unacceptable.
You know what I'm going to say,
brave
though,
men and
you?
women.
You know what I'm going to say was, and I'm not just going to blame the Tories or Labour, I'm going to go 20 years back. Conservatives and Labour governments have successively done what they thought was the easy option, which is to say, the Cold War's over, everything's fine, let's just decimate our military. Got given a figure yesterday, right? We have a migrant tracker that goes up, and there are nearly 70,000 illegal male migrants. Yes, they are male, Darren Jones, you numpty. 65,000 then, thanks. That have come into this country in the 18 months that Keir Starmer's been the Prime Minister. That is more in number than we have in our armed forces. This started 20 years ago. It's an absolute disgrace. I think as an island, I think as a democracy, I think as a nation, we should be protecting ourselves, and successive governments, Matty, have let us down. Let's just put it as it was. This special relationship and all that, we are not as important, as relevant or as interesting to the United States. That's why he's doing what he's doing. And there's a part of me, people can go, he's mad. He's also right, because everybody jumped in and went, oh, yes, we've been expecting the Americans to pay for years. Well, he's saying, I'm not going to pay unless you pull your weight.
Well, the reason that the response to Ukraine worked is because all of these countries worked in lockstep. When it was the sanctions, when it was... You actually need to take collective responsibility. You need to hit that 3%, because it's about men and women.
Serving in around that 3 days before the general election. He could have said it 2 years beforehand. You know that, and I know that.
I'm sure you could go down all the lines of why there was financial pressures under the last government, what went on. There's lots of mistakes being made. The reality is we're here now.
Do you think it was right that successive governments cut so spectacularly our armed forces?
No, it was wrong. But it's all of the talk. At the time we talked, we are in a dangerous world. We are in a very bloody dangerous world. Look at what's going on now on the front pages of our papers across the globe. There now has to be, the government has to now sit down and find that 3%. They are finding countless amounts of money to increase benefits. We can't keep people safe. There'll be nothing left of this country.
Absolutely true. Loads of you responding. 6:32. So that main news story, rapists and violent thugs hired in a rush. This is a story about the Met Police and other forces. So relevant is it to, quick, we're going to get 20,000 more, policemen and women on the streets, that apparently every check, including references, went out the window. Matt's got a thought. Morning, Matt.
Oh,
Wrong.
So Keir Starmer tells his cabinet...
Stop! I meant to say Pete. I do apologise. Pete, good morning.
Morning, Jezza. Hope you're battened down for tonight's storm. This fuel duty rise, well, it goes back to the same old thing, doesn't it? They don't want us moving out of our area. They want us to stay in our own area. There's something, it's like, you're feeling like you're being herded and rounded up for something. You're not allowed to travel. It will kill the travel industry, kill the tourist industry. It will kill places like National Trust and places that people like to visit. But then again, when you go there, you can't go to a country pub because there won't be any open. What is he trying to exterminate us, is he? The Dalek in him. Exterminate. The man is just destroying this country, and it's all intentional.
We're on the money this morning. It's my fault. That was about fuel duty. It wasn't about the police. But he's right, isn't he, about the fuel duty thing?
He is right.
Exterminate. Matt, by the way, not this Matt, another Matt. He's pretty hacked off with the cost of living. Morning, Matty.
Oh, so Keir Starmer tells his cabinet this year is like a restart. We're going to focus on the cost of living. We're going to make people's lives easier. The working man's going to have more money in his pocket. So what do you tell us today? He's going to put fuel duty back up. He's going to take the discount off. They're putting £30 tax on me for having a gas boiler. The council tax has gone up. To run my van in the morning costs more. To maintain it costs more. My insurance policies cost more. My food costs more. My kids' clothing for school and just general purpose costs more. He's really helping us out there, isn't he? Oh, as soon as we get rid of this government, the better.
It's really interesting, actually. Just to take that point ahead of the break. Cost of living in this country, you talked about the economy from a Tory point of view. We can talk about the impact of illegal migrants on our social services, our welfare system, our benefit system. We can talk about the police on the streets not being there and the story of this morning. Fact of the matter is, the length and breadth of this country, hard-working Brits are really struggling. He said it there, didn't he? Food through the roof, energy through the roof. Now fuel, this duty's going to go up in September. Again, another blatant lie. There are people, Matt Vickers, waking up this morning already on their way to work going, I've tried to live my life correctly, but Jesus, I am in a real mess. There are real struggles going on, and we seem to have a government, right, genuinely mean this, that doesn't recognise or understand how people are struggling.
Well, the harder you work, the more he's going to take off you. That's where it's at. If you work hard and do the right thing, he's not on your side. He's everything you earn, he's taking it from you somewhere. And where's it all going? He's not putting police on our street. There's less police on the street. He's not going into defence. We aren't getting to that 3%. Welfare is growing at an unbelievable rate. The people who work hard and do the right thing, he's just not on their side.
Love to hear from you this morning. What do you make of it? The main news story is the Met Police hired basically violent thugs and rapists in a rush to recruit officers. The fuel duty cut that we were promised is going to be phased out by September, which means 5p will be back on fuel. So if, as that last guy said, if your food's expensive, if your bills are expensive, don't worry, it's now going to be completely expensive, or more so, to drive your car. 24 minutes to 7 o'clock. You would talk breakfast. Good morning.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
A very good morning, my friends. 22 minutes to 7 o'clock. It is Thursday. Listen, if you are out and about, there is a storm, genuinely. Storm Goretti is going to hit the UK later today. 90-mile-per-hour gusts and 12 inches of snow already in Scotland. Wherever you are in the UK this morning, if you're heading out to work with kids or whatever, if it's snowing, if the weather's beginning to turn, do let us know. We'll touch base with Claire Nazir later, top meteorologist, but please be aware, weather's not going to be great later. Dave in Colne always makes me laugh, Matt Vickers. He says, listen, it might be misery everywhere. Everything could be a complete disaster, but at least we've got bloody breakfast clubs. We haven't got one here, have we, Big Mark? Mark likes it. We want a breakfast club here, so we get some breakfast. Can I say good morning to Adrian? Good morning, Adrian. What you got me?
Morning, Jeremy. This is Adrian on the Isle of Wight. So many things to talk about, but the police thing is quite important because my grandson was thinking about the police as a career, and when he looked at it, he realised that the people at the top had probably never met a criminal, so he decided not to go ahead with that. Plus the fact he's got no tattoos, he doesn't have long hair, he doesn't have a beard, and he didn't want to be dressed up like a paratrooper. Anyway, that's his take on the police, and he's 19.
19 years of age. He said to his granddad, I was going to join the police, but I'm not going to bother because I haven't got a tattoo, long hair. And I mean, we can't say that that's, what everybody experiences. But I have to say, the public's perception of all police is in the carsy, and all the people who quite rightly say you can't say that. I get that. It's like the people who don't want us to criticise the NHS. It's this revered thing. Doesn't work, right? The police in this country might want to work. It might be their bosses. It might not be. Doesn't bloody work. They're not there for us. They're not doing the job correctly. That, to me, law and order genuinely, as much as the economy, is as important as anything else.
Well, it's a top priority. You know what? You pay your taxes, you go about your life. You're meant to be able to do it safely, and you can't when you're seeing police cuts. You're paying more in tax than you've ever paid, and they're reducing the number of police on the street. Not because there's a pandemic, not because there's a war. They're just reducing it because they'd rather spend it on welfare. It's not acceptable. We've got to be supporting police officers. We've got to give them the powers they need to get on with the job. We need to stop releasing prisoners early, because that just is never going to be a good idea. Yeah, we need to back the police, let them get on with the job, but hold them to account when the guys at the top get it wrong.
Graham in Bushy, where I was conceived, by the way, Bushy. Graham is banned from this show. With the cold weather and Storm Goretti, I was tuning in, he said, because we've been told to check on the elderly, so I just wanted to check you're all right. He's a cheeky git, isn't he? Morning, JK, it's a joke. Check mileage rates, not increasing since 2012, yet rate you pay government reviewed constantly. Mileage rates with inflation should be 65p a mile now. This never gets any coverage. Great show. More ways to screw the British motorists. Morning, Pete. Fuel hasn't gone back down since the last rise. In fact, since Christmas Eve, it's already gone up 15p a litre in some petrol stations. Cost of living, it's stark and dreadful. I can't, it's too much. Graham Pack. How do we know that Starmer was talking to Trump yesterday? I mean, it could have been an impersonator. It could have been John Coleshaw, because nobody likes him. Hello to Mark. Jez, there are roughly 60,000 inhabitants of Greenland. If Trump offers them all $1 million to become US citizens, what would Denmark do today? Happy Christmas. I think Mark's behind the 8 ball. What's 60,000 million?
It's a lot.
It's a lot of money. Morning, Jez. Matt Vickers epitomises why many of us left the Tories and joined Reform. His level of arrogance is astounding given what a mess they all made of things. The party have moved a few pieces, but fundamentally haven't changed. You should answer that. Yeah,
I don't buy that. Do you know what? I could either come in here and say, oh my God, it was so terrible what the last government did. And they did do. There was lots of mistakes made. I wasn't a minister in the last government. My view is, Northerner, came down, had a look at what's going on, giving my opinion on things. And in reality, it's got a hell of a lot worse. However bad it was under the last lot, it's a hell of a lot worse.
What do you say? All right, so no, and listen, what I admire about you, and I've said this to Robert Jenrick, and I'll say it to you, because it would be easy to hide under a bushel and not put your head above the parapet, and people will say that.
Lots of people do that.
Of course they do, and I'll make that point. As much as Starmer will forever constantly blame the Tories, that's running out of air. What you guys, I guess, are saying is, yes, mistakes are made, but we have to draw a line. People will say that we wouldn't be in this mess if the sheer incompetence of the last Tory government had not put this appalling bunch of charlatans in power. That, for me, is where the Tories are in real difficulty.
I think there's a very valid point, but there's also, you've got a woman at the helm now with backbone who's doing the business, who's holding Starmer to account, and there's going to be a big choice at the next election. The one thing that I've decided to jump ship and run off and join whichever one's popular next week. I've decided that I'm sticking out because I believe that the Conservative Party are the people who can fix the economy. The people, not the people who are going to dole out more in benefits. Reform and Labour are all on board with scrapping this 2-child cap, with increasing the amount that we I think actually the men and women out there who are de-icing the cars this morning because it's a bloody awful storm, who are going to work and doing the right thing, we need to be on their side. We need to be reducing the burden. If we're taking money off people, if a government is taking money off people, it should be getting spent on the right things. Not the people who aren't going to work,
disagree,
on those police officers, on defence.
Big Mark, who works on the show and wants a Breakfast Club, just made a really salient point in my ear. He respects the fact that you come in. I respect the fact you come in. He says, why do politicians listen, interact and have time with us when they're in opposition, but when they're in power, we don't get a look in? And I'm being completely honest. If you'd said this to a Tory in the last 2 years, they wouldn't have done an interview. You're out here, head on the line. I completely respect
Well, when
that.
we get re-elected, I'll be back in.
That's what Labour said to me. That's what Labour said, and you cannot get Jack from the Labour Party. We have tried everything, terrible, Christian and I. They say, you're very critical of Keir Starmer. Well, I have every right to be, but come on, Keir Starmer, come here. Send one of your lackeys to have a conversation with me. We have the Tory party on, we have Reform on. We don't have the... could you... Sorry.
The Green folk.
Ryan's going to freak out, but we've done it already. Do you know what somebody called Zach Polanski the other day? Hypno-tits. I think it's the greatest line ever in the history of the world. I don't mind anybody coming on this show, right? Labour won't do it. So that's a guarantee. If you ever got back, you'd be on, right? Yes?
Yes. I'm here.
Let's talk about the Tories. The other story yesterday that really, really wound up loads and loads of people, it was the only story in town yesterday, was this attempt to control drink driving. And of course, I made the point yesterday, we all want to be safe. And Labour have this plan of it's going to be 1 pint and then you'll be over. And I just nail it like I did yesterday. Drink driving is abhorrent. But of course, what that also pointed the light at is are we living now in a nanny state where we're not allowed to do anything because we're not mature enough to make our own decisions? But also on top of that, what it was going to do for the pub industry. I mean, small businesses, medium businesses in this country being destroyed by this government. Interest rates, national insurance, workers' rights, the minimum wage. It's terrible. The rural pub used to be the hub of the local community. And a lot of people think that he just doesn't, the Labour Party don't like pubs. Badenoch, front page of the Telegraph, Badenoch's blueprint to save our pubs. What is her blueprint?
Well, so the thing is, the other thing I want to remind everybody out there is that pubs are for life, not just for Christmas. All you people who turn up at Christmas, these pubs need your support
like wives and dogs.
These pubs need your support now more than ever. The business rates, I was speaking to a landlord in my part of the world, his business rates under this government have trebled, gone up 3 times. That's tens of thousands of pounds. How many pints do you have to sell to generate tens of thousands? National insurance, through the roof. Then you look at all the red tape coming out in this unemployment rights bill. These pubs, though, they aren't just a place that we go to drink. They're actually one of the few places that bring people together. They're a place that provides youngsters with a first job. Loads of us got our first job in retail or in hospitality, collecting the glasses.
Marks and Spencer putting geesed bananas out, stacking them 8 hours a day on a Saturday, £1.65 an hour.
M&S, you were a classy kid, weren't you?
Oh, yeah, crimpling shirt. I used to come out in a terrible rash. Anyway, no, true story. I'm with you.
Pubs are huge, but their social value is huge. And once they're gone, they're going the way of the dodo, the way of the dinosaur. Once they're gone, we will not get them back.
Do you believe it's part of a Labour nanny state? We're going to tell you exactly what you have to do the whole time.
We're losing 111,000 jobs in hospitality. 2 pubs a day closing. Terrible. We can't go on like that. But these are the people
who
pay the taxes.
Does she like a beer?
So she is going to axe. I'm sure she does like a beer. She is going to axe business rates for all those. So what's happened? I don't know whether. Rateable value of £110,000 for leisure, hospitality and retail. The last government give you a 75% discount. So you're a small business, a pub, a small shop, you got that discount on your business rates. There's the one thing that made it work. If not, we'd have lost more pubs than we already have. Labour have completely axed that, as well as putting the business rates, the revaluation in. So these things are trebling. She's saying we'll give them 100% discount if they're under that 110. So all the little independent ones, the cool little businesses on the high street that sell all the funky stuff, the little pub at the end of the estate or in the village, they will all benefit from that slashing.
That's an interesting part. What do you make of that Tory commitment? They will slash all of those controls on small and medium businesses and make it better and more effective.
And because it's a Conservative commitment, it's actually costed. We've got the figures. We know where it's coming from.
What does that mean? Are you digging whether the parties make commitments without costing it?
Well, I don't know. Do you think, Jezza?
But you're not going to get in next time, are you? You're not going to get in next time, are you?
We're going to put our pitch to the British people. We're going to be the people on the side of those who work hard, who do the right thing. The landlords who create the jobs.
I do admire you.
We're going to be on their side. We're going to put our pitch forwards. I'm not running off to get elected because I think someone's more popular than one party's more popular than the other. I'm going to hold my
being married with him. Lots of argument and no physicality. Paul in Manchester, no wonder people want to leave this country. It's like being on the Titanic as Starmer with the captain. Yeah. Pete was Storm Starmer guaranteed to destroy this country. Good morning to Cliff in Berkshire. The problem is that the more the public expect the gangster state to do them, or the more the gangster state decides to do, costs more and more money. We need to decide exactly what we want them to do for us and vote people in who will stick to the basics. Good morning to Patricia. Reminds me of that song. I'm not going to sing it. Patricia Bonges, can you ask Matt if there's anyone in the Labour Party who he thinks has an above average IQ? I can't find one, but he is presumably in a much better position to identify them than me. Is there anybody in the front bench or in Labour with a high IQ?
Well, I've been looking for 2 things, actually. That's one thing to look for. The other thing is to find one single promise that they made before this election that they've actually held up. It's unbelievable, actually, how bad they've been. It's unbelievable that literally the entire manifesto, every pledge they made to pensioners, to farmers, to business people, they told you not a penny more on council tax. How's that going?
Well, I'm gonna say something that will cause Ryan to potentially hover his finger above the dump button. I have always paid my council tax. I would never condone anything, and I've actually decided that I'm just going to be. You know, you get one more payment. It finishes in January, don't it? I was supposed to pay it on the 1st of January. Let me tell you about my bloody bins. No, and I'm doing this quite deliberately because I want them to chase me, right? Because for 3 weeks over Christmas, with 6 bleeding children, I have been to that tip with 16 bags of rubbish, and they haven't come for 3 months. They told me that for 3 weeks there would be no increase. The service is crap in Bournemouth, down that way. It's not in Bournemouth. And I've been to the tip, and so they can wait for their damn money. Is that wrong? I'd love to know what you think about that. What, you're supposed to pay for service, right?
Is it a Labour council?
I actually don't know what it is.
Well, you remember the Birmingham bins?
BCP Council.
They had rats as big as cats, didn't they, in Birmingham, because they didn't empty the bins. Yeah. It's a very typical Labour thing to do.
Morning to Damon from Wigan. Every 3 years I have to have a DBS check for my job as a firefighter. I've had a check. It's Lib Dem. I've just felt, of course it is. Of course it is. Out watching badgers and cutting down trees, or talking to trees, probably. I'm not giving him a council tax till you take my bloody bins away. Sorry, that's the way it is. Damon, I didn't have a check done. If I don't have a check done as a firefighter and out of the job, why do the police get away with it? The police are getting worse than the British criminals. It's a joke. This is in response to that story on the front of every paper which says that rapists and violent thugs were hired by police, specifically the Met, in a rush to recruit officers. It's 10 to 7. Matt Vickers is looking stripped and ready for action. You're doing well, my friend. To the break, by the way, your voice note's always welcome. 0344 499 1000. Shawnee, what you got this morning?
So a couple of days after Keir Starmer goes on the BBC and tells us we're all going to start feeling better off this year, he smacks up fuel duty. I mean, who thought that was a good idea? A couple of days after he says that, I mean, someone must have thought, oh, I know how we can save people money. We'll put up fuel duty. Yeah, great idea. You know, the idiots.
Every Monday to Wednesday, midnight until 1, it is Talkback.
Such a shortage of housing. You've got landlords, right, have taken that on board, and it's an absolute disgrace.
Your stories, your opinions, it is your chance to have your say. So they're literally just being rented out as hotels, basically.
Yeah, rent a load of hotels.
Well, that has really shone a light for me.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
A very good morning, 7 minutes to 7 o'clock. You're with the Jeremy Kyle Breakfast Show live across the UK on Talk. Matt Vickers, Conservative Deputy Party Chairman and singleton at 42, who goes to IKEA with his mum, is on the show. This is Dan on the Tories. You better pin back your logos. Morning, Dan.
This is a message really for Matt Vickers. Yes, the economy may have been better when the Conservatives were in power, but don't forget the backstabbing, the lies, multiple prime ministers. I mean, I can't forget how many we had now. You just didn't get along as a team. Do you get along now? Is there still division in the Conservative Party? That's the problem.
You can answer that.
I think that's a really valid point. I think that was, I mean, they were fighting like cats in a sack, weren't they, before the last general election? We've gone away, we've listened to the message that people have You know, Kemi's been out there and told you what they got wrong, whether it be on immigration, where things went wrong. We're now behind Kemi. Kemi is a proper leader. She is in there bossing.
She certainly stepped it up. I'll give you that, but I still think there's great degrees of cynicism.
And the reality is that
I think she might be a William Hague, good man, good leader at the wrong time.
Sound, it's very sound. But the reality is that by the next election, this country's economy is, well, it's already on its knees. We've got 3 years of this absolute poop show to go.
Poop show.
If there's going to be 21% more people unemployed, they've only been in office 18 months. There's going to be a lot of work to do. Kemi's gone away. She's come forward with a real plan. She's found the money that we're going to save. She said we're going to cut the civil service. She said we're going to cut welfare. She's the only leader out there saying we're going to make those tough choices. We aren't going to just give money away to people on benefits. We're going to make those tough choices. We are going to be the people on the side of those who work hard, who do the right thing. The people out there who are de-icing those cars this morning.
I agree with you. Nick is in Huntingdon. Just getting ready for my first of 2 jobs today. If Trump is offering money to become American citizens, I'd do it for £12.75 an hour. Good morning. I don't know who this is. Oh, Liam. I visited my relatives in Norway at Christmas and they all think the British government is mad. While we basically closed down our oil fields, Norway's opening them up. We've got liquid gold under the North Sea. Why don't we make something of that rather than importing it? I couldn't agree more. Jenny obviously needs therapy. She says, normally I'm just happy to watch the show, but this is the second time I've seen you in a dark shirt and each time I really can't concentrate. You just look gorgeous. She's listening to LBC. No, I'm joking. 5 to 7. Now, listen, this is awful, and this is going to create a rant. 5 to 7, front page of the Amazing Sun newspaper today. Look who's Hugh. Martin Clunes in a... Is it an IT... It's a BBC... Oh, is this an ITV drama? I don't know. The telly favourite Martin Clunes, though it's Channel 5, is to play disgraced BBC newsreader Hugh Edwards in a new 2-part drama. It's all over every newspaper. Every time this comes up, I find myself saying the same thing. No wonder people are against paying their licence fee, apart from the fact that our state broadcaster is biased, seems to have an agenda of its own. It is still paying that paedophile who is walking free £200,000 a year. Any political party that wins the next election should make it an absolute must. They get his bloody pension off him. His liberty is beyond me. The fact that we're still paying for him to sit wherever is a disgrace.
Yeah, you're saying they're paying. Yeah, we are paying.
Yeah,
we are paying
yeah,
that. It's
absolutely.
utterly disgusting, actually. Completely unacceptable.
Why doesn't somebody in government force some legal situation so that the guy has to give the money back?
It's unbelievable. I mean, you would think it was a made-up story. You assume it's something that's sort of, you know, off Twitter that's completely false. It's a fact, and it's just utterly disgusting.
To me, it makes a mockery again of Alarm Clock Britain.
I always think it must be bizarre to be cast in those things. You know, when someone rings you up and says, "Will you play?"
Yeah.
You walk in the pub and everybody starts.
It's like being a solicitor, isn't it, and a lawyer, and you've got we need to come and get you to represent Maduro or somebody like that. You have to presumably do it as a job. Martin Clunes, a fine actor. He's a disgrace, Hugh Edwards. He's not going to have a conscience about giving the money back because he's interested in kids. I think we as a society should do it. Yeah. Can I just finish on a light-hearted note? Apparently children, most 12-year-olds do not realise they'll be able to vote in the next election, but already hold strong political views. I doubt that. Research has found the voting age, of course, to try and keep Keir Starmer in number 10 has been lowered from 18 to 16. You imagine going to a 12-year-old right now and saying, right, I'm going to talk to you about politics because in 4 years you could define our next government. Sod off, I'm playing Roadblocks. I'm on my iPad. I don't want to... I mean, trying to have a conversation with your teenagers about the facts of life is hard enough. Trying to have a conversation about Keir Starmer would prove impossible, I imagine.
Well, I'm not... I
well,
don't
no, you haven't got any kids. You can't even get a girlfriend. There's no chance
I don't
of that,
like this idea of reducing the age of voting, but in real terms, those 12-year-olds probably have more sense. There is still a huge amount of the population on all of these polls who are voting for the Labour Party, who would vote for the Labour Party
again.
Is that true?
Is that true?
It's like 15%. Who are these 15%?
Yeah,
those 12-year-olds would have more sense than to allow
What do you genuinely think? You think it's OK to continually drop the voting age?
No,
I
think
don't.
It's ridiculous. I think it's
ridiculous. It is ridiculous.
There are people who have no awareness of what's going on, who aren't informed. People need to reach a certain age. I mean, when do you stop? You know, if it's 16
What do you say
this
to
year,
a 12-year-old? What do you want in the next general election? I want a new PS5. No, sorry, we want world peace. What are you talking about? Do you know
do you
what I'm
remember? I
saying?
mean, you could start just the Corbyn approach to well, we're going to give everybody free Wi-Fi. We're going to give people free passes.
Can I say
something? There are people who fall for that.
Can I say something that probably will go down like a lead balloon? I hate everything that Jeremy Corbyn stands for, and the anti-Semitism is abhorrent to me. At least the man had the BALLS's to stand on a platform and spout his nonsense, but stick to his nonsense, and he didn't win the election. What we know about this government is their manifesto and what they say on a daily basis. I mean, the fuel cut today, it's going to be phased in. It's lies. Council tax has gone up. Everything has gone up. Food, electricity, everything. Listen, it's always an absolute pleasure to have you on the show. Will you come back next week?
Of course, of course.
Need to find him a girlfriend, ladies and gentlemen. He's single. He's 42. No wonder if he's... No, I'm joking. Matt Vickers, thank you very much indeed. Heading to the news at 7 o'clock. Simon Danshuk, former Labour MP, on the show next. We're talking about how Scotland Yard failed to properly vet thousands of officers. Rapists and violent thugs were in the police force. Think Cousins, think Carrick will do that. We'll also talk about a fuel duty rise. That and more after the news at 7, which is next.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Very good morning to you. Welcome along. Thursday the 8th of January. It's the JK Breakfast Show on Talk. It is the home, of course, of common sense. It's where the nation comes to have its say. Alarm clock Brits, working people, up and about already. Can I point out something that is massively important? There is a storm, a serious storm heading to the Great Britain. It's called Storm Goretti. They named it, not me. 12 inches of snow Obviously chaos travel-wise later today. Wherever you are in the UK, watch out for that. We'll keep you updated. Claire Nazir, top meteorologist, will be on in this show talking about where it's going to hit in the UK. But it is a fact of life. It's going to happen. It is 7:03. You're waking up to so many different stories, but the ones that are really getting traction with you is this appalling stat today. Front page of the Telegraph, front page of almost every single newspaper. The Met Police hired violent thugs, a black child rapist to boost diversity credentials. We all know what happened with the Met Police, with that vile animal Wayne Couzens and David Carrick. To think that just to tick boxes, to think that just to get by, that's what the Met Police did, is utterly disgraceful. This is Peter Blexley, a former Met Police officer and a man with strong opinions, will join us. We'd love to know your thoughts, though. Do you trust the British police anymore? We can sit here and go, oh, we shouldn't insult the men and the women on the streets. I get that. I think it's very difficult. I think it's those at the top of the tree. But you know what? If you own a shop, a takeaway, anything, you'll probably be shoplifted. If you've got a nice watch or you've got a handbag, you'll probably be mugged in the street, and there are no police on site. If you write something that people don't like, 6 armed police officers will probably end up at your door. I think the whole thing is fundamentally wrong. But to wake up and discover that the Met Police are employing thugs and rapists just to boost targets is utterly, utterly disgusting. And despite the fact that most people that listen to this think that I spend every day having a go at Keir Starmer, I've invited him on the show. He won't take my call. Yet another U-turn on sign. Labour's planned fuel duty rise is to be phased in over 6 months from September, it's emerged. So Keir Starmer is under pressure to perform a U-turn. Of course he is. So he can honour his pledge to make voters feel better off. You remember, do you? Do you remember the Kunzberg thing? People will be better off in 2026. Fuel duty will rise for the first time in 15 years when a temporary 5p cut is axed in September. So they've lied again. Council tax will stay. No, that's gone up. Food, no, that's gone up. Energy, no, that's gone up. And now, fuel. The absolute lifeblood for so many small businesses. And, of course, you know, for many, many people, that's the only way that they can get around. We'll talk about that. I'm not really interested. Oh, the PM set out his position on Greenland in a call with Donald Trump. Who cares? We want your voice notes. 0344 499 1000. Your text to 87222. We say a very good morning to a former Labour MP, now a Reform defector, Simon Danshire. Good morning, my friend.
Good morning. It's good to join you, Jeremy.
Happy New Year, Simon.
Happy New Year. I'm going to say you're looking very well.
Well, I don't know why. I put a dark shirt on. Maybe just whitewashes me out. We're having a deep conversation. Mate, can I ask you, as a man who represented a northern constituency, I don't know how old you are, I wouldn't be so rude, but I'm guessing you and I would have had the same view. When I were a kid, right, you didn't want to get on the wrong side of the police. You didn't want them to feel your collar. Take them home to your mam, right? It was the police, you went, oh, the police, and I'm not... once we get into this debate, people will always say you can't say that. I'm not dissing the men and women who are trying to do a very difficult job. But I would say that the popularity or how people see the police is at an all-time low, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I would think so. The faith in the police is probably really very low, I have to say. And it's because of, as you just pointed out, it's those in the higher echelons of the police who just have a strange view of how the police should be organised. And you've got to feel for the frontline police officers who are doing their job on a daily basis. But people have lost faith in the police. I am in no doubt about that. We were very careful and cautious about the police when we were young, but people have just lost respect for the police, I'm sorry to say. They're not what they used to be. I mean, it's a travesty, really.
And I think it's important that we have this conversation. It's a bit like, I said it earlier to Matt Vickers, the Tory party deputy chairman, that it's like the health service. Oh, it's so revered, it's on a pedestal, we better not criticise it, it's such a great invention. I'm not slagging off the men and women on the streets because there are rules by which they abide, but I don't understand how we've got to a point where the police... priorities are wrong. They stand by and watch crime take place, it seems, but will come round, as I said in my introduction, for hurty words. But to hear that a police force, something like the Met, right, I think Rowley should resign absolutely immediately on the proof of this report today. They failed to vet thousands of officers, Si. They didn't even check references. In a bid to rush through 20,000 new officers, in a bid to apparently, right, look like there were more people on the street, up to 6 forces secretly dropped any sort of employment checks and let whoever through. What the hell does that say?
You know, and you're exactly right. And if you read the report, it clearly shows that this was all about diversity. It was about trying to get more ethnic minorities in the police force. So they dropped the review of the background of each officer that came into the force, and some of them were rejected, but they overruled the rejections. And then the consequence of this is that the Met Police end up with over 130 officers in their force who have gone on to commit significant crimes, rape and many other crimes. I mean, what is this about? I have to say it was under Cressida Dick, the former chief constable of the Met.
I might as well say it because I get into trouble. I could never take quite seriously a woman who's called Cressida Dick. Sorry, I struggled with that, to be honest.
No,
I really did.
I can understand that. But she was clearly failing. I mean, you know, not reviewing these people properly so that they could achieve diversity targets. That's the issue here. You know, it's just outrageous.
Listen to this from Mick. He says, in my mind, our senior police chiefs have fallen into a politically biased DEI trap. Look at the Israeli football fans ban, the Met Police's failure, we're reporting this morning, to vet recruits, the failure to charge that vile Bob Villan who could stand on stage at Glastonbury, go deaf to the IDF, but nothing happened, and two-tier policing of protests. Think about what they say against the Jewish community and the Palestinians. It's tip of the iceberg. As Mick says, an urgent review of police promotion and objects must be carried out. Who should do that review? Because to me, that's I mean, there he is. There's bloody Sadiq Khan to make my morning worse. That's what the Home Office... Is that not what the Home Office should be doing?
You wouldn't rely on the civil service to do a review like that nowadays, would you? This DEI, Mick is exactly right. I mean, this DEI agenda has infiltrated a whole range of British institutions. And it's not just the Met Police, as this report shows. It's at least 6 police forces across the United Kingdom. Some of the police forces didn't even respond to the survey. So we don't know what's happened in some police forces, but 6 of them dropped the review of the police that they were recruiting. I mean, you couldn't make it up.
No. Let's talk about, and actually just very quickly, but we know that you were in Rochdale. I remember my whole view of the police changed when, I think it was on this station, maybe a couple of years ago, and I interviewed a senior police officer about the Rotherham grooming gangs, and he said to me on air, the thing is, Jez, you don't understand. We had to be really careful and take 8 years to look into it because we didn't want to stoke racial division. And I thought, right, so 8-year-old white kids are being abused sexually and ruined for life, but we're treading carefully. I just think the police, and I say this very carefully, need a massive, massive reset, and somebody somewhere needs to grab them by the short and curlies and say, it's supposed to be about law and order. It's not about, you know, we've lost, you know, break the law, feel the long arm of the law, go to prison, write an article that people don't agree with, go to prison, have a gun, get off. Doesn't make sense to me, Si. Let's talk about the other thing. And as an ex-Labour MP, you will understand this, and also from the north. I mean, people are up in arms this morning. Labour's planned fuel duty rise is to be phased in over 6 months from September. Already dreary Keir under pressure to do a U-turn, because he pledged, did he not, at the weekend, to make people better off. But the fuel duty will rise for the first time in 15 years. That temporary 5p cut will be axed in September. So yet another bleeding lie by Starmer.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, he's said that he'll tackle the cost of living crisis. This is just another pain for ordinary working people. It'll go up 1 pence in September, then another 2 pence in December, and then another 2 pence in March 2027. So the cut that the Conservatives made in 2022 because of a spike in prices in March 2022 will be lost. So you're going to pay more for your petrol. I mean, that's the reality of it. The idea that Starmer is he's making the cost of living crisis go away for people is an absolute nonsense. I mean, he said he's taken £150 off energy costs. I mean, it's total nonsense.
We did that on Tuesday. Did you see that? He sent out some tweets saying, you'll be better off and your energy bills will go down by 150%. And I'm not any good online, but there's something called a community note from X, which basically says you're lying. And they came straight out and went, well, no, actually, because the cap's now much higher and actually you're lying. And you just think I mean, you were an MP. Like every day, Si, I'm like, does this man have a shred of intelligence, or does he have anybody around him who says it's everything you say and do is not being mocked because we've not got better things to do? Because frankly, I don't know about the rest of you, I'd like to hear your opinion. I would like to be proud of my country. I'd like a government that I feel is fighting for me and my country, whatever the colour of that government. This guy is inept and he's an embarrassment abroad. That's how I see it.
Yeah, absolutely. He's considered, rightly so, the worst Prime Minister that Britain's ever had. He's the most unpopular Prime Minister Britain has ever had.
Have you heard the news this morning? He's got a lower approval rating than Maduro had in Venezuela. That's not great,
I
is it?
didn't see that, but I'm not surprised. He won't last until May. He won't go beyond May this year. He came out, after New Year celebrations, fighting, saying that he would be here for a long time. I mean, absolute nonsense. If he's not challenged in the next few months, I'd be very surprised. Labour MPs must be really worried about their survival with Starmer leading them. I mean, he's a total disaster. And people just don't believe him. They stop listening to him, which is a significant problem when you're the Prime Minister.
Absolutely. About cost of living and all of his lies. Steve, good morning.
All this nonsense with benefits, it makes you think sometimes. I go out to work every day, me. I don't think I could earn as much on benefits, but why the hell should I get up at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning to go out and work and earn a crust when I could go on Easy Street? May not earn as much, just cut back a few things, live life easy, like I can retire at 40 odd. Unbelievable, Jeff. Unbelievable.
Unbelievable, Jeff or Jez? I know what he was doing there. Side, there's the point, and that for me is cutting at the very root of what is supposed to make this country and other countries work. And I get this is why we'll do this show, right? You think of hard-working Brits, alarm clock Brits. We're very fortunate the job we do, but 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, driving a lorry, working in the health service, I don't know, driving a minicab, gritting the roads today. You're getting in your cab, you're getting in your car, side, and you're thinking, I'd be better off doing nothing. I'd be better off sitting in bed, claiming some benefit, because let's be honest, if you don't work, and don't all have a go at me, there's plenty you want to and don't, but there's also a lot of work-shy lazy bums, and that's an absolute fact. Plus, in fact, we're allowing people to come to our country who do better than those who pay tax by doing absolutely nothing, by coming in illegally. The messaging, what that says, what that filters down to the public is, I think, becoming massively, massively relevant.
Steve is exactly right, isn't he? And what we saw in the November budget, Rachel Reeves, the Chancellor, Keir Starmer, just put taxes up on people like Steve so that those on benefits, those on welfare can be paid more. I mean, that's the reality of it. And Steve was saying that, if he did start living on benefits instead of going out to work, he might be a little bit worse off. I'm not sure he would, actually. I think the benefits have increased that much. It's quite a cushy number. There's more people on benefits and on welfare than ever before. I mean, it's totally unacceptable. And yet this is what Starmer's agenda is. And Labour MPs are pushing him to do it as well. It's the whole government, not just Starmer.
And that's the interesting thing when you talk about benefits, because for me, and I've said it, I bore myself, it's one of the greatest inventions in the modern world to say that as a society, if and when we could afford it, we're very happy to help people who can't help themselves. What it's done is it's absolutely bankrupted this country because millions of people who shouldn't have it are having it. Those who perhaps do need it are then missing out, and we are allowing people... I mean, I know I go on every day, but quite how you can illegally come into this country and end up with a hotel room, a mobile phone, a credit card, Pilates lessons and some art class, and you think I'm joking, I'm not, is I don't even know in my wildest moments how anybody could make that decision. And I think... we saw the Labour Party, didn't we? He wanted to cut $5 billion, a measly $5 billion. That went out the window because the left-wingers don't like it. Here's a question for you. Used to be a Labour MP. when I was growing up, Labour was about the working man and woman. I don't think it is anymore. When you look at your old party and you think about why you joined and what you believed in, how different is it today?
Oh, radically different, isn't it? There used to be stringent checks on people who wanted welfare. They've just gone by the wayside. And I remember as a Labour MP, as a Labour candidate, saying that we should get those unemployed into work in some way, cleaning the streets or whatever it might be, earning their benefits. And it was acceptable for me to say that as a Labour candidate, as a Labour MP. You couldn't even say that in the modern Labour Party nowadays. That's why I left the party, because it used to be, Labour used to be, it's in the name, used to be about the world of work. And that's not what it's about now. It's got this North London leftist globalist view of what the country should be like, and that just does not fit with Labour's traditional values. I mean, it's a travesty, really, for ordinary working people.
Answer the question that Matt Vickers put to us about half an hour ago. Labour is still polling at about 20%. Who the hell, when you look at the debacle that is this government, a fifth of this country still would vote for this? That shocks me, and I'm being completely honest.
Yeah, no, I'm amazed by that. I mean, I suspect it's train drivers, public sector workers, some public sector workers, people who've done well from the Labour government, but they're very much in a minority. And I'd be amazed if they even poll anywhere near that come the elections that we have in May, in Scotland, in Wales, in local government. I think they're going to tank completely. And that's another reason that Starmer will go.
And let's just put in perspective what the world is like for that working class Brit. Stuart in Bristol. Morning, Jez. Morning, Si. Every morning I drive my 25-minute commute to open my business, employing 12 people. I see lorry drivers, van drivers, tradesmen and women, fellow commuters, all heading to work and contributing, and we're all getting hammered. The fuel duty will hit every single one of us, not the feckless still in bed. I am sick to death of what's happening in this country. I think Stuart in Bristol, just to finish you and me, I think he speaks for millions, don't you, bud?
Yeah, absolutely. And Stuart's there creating 12 jobs, helping pay 12 mortgages for those families. He's at the forefront of driving Britain forward, but he's not getting much help from Keir Starmer and the Labour government, I'm sorry to say.
He absolutely is not. We want you on every single week. We're delighted to have you on. Somebody, you'll love this before you go. What's her name? I always like you to feel really good. It's always a pleasure, says Sharon Miller, to see Simon Danshuk on Talk, a voice of truth from up north, Sharon in Staffordshire. Simon Danshuk, thank you very much indeed, my friend. Great to have you on Thursday morning. What is it, 7:20? You are with Talk, of course, the home of common sense. Whatever you want to talk about, we want your voice notes, 0344 499 1000. Your text as well, always welcome, 87222. So, main news today, Scotland Yard, a report proving that they failed to properly vet thousands of officers, allowing rapists, racists and violent offenders to join the force. This was after Cousins and after Carrick, for Christ's sake. That's how bad. What is your view of the police? Have you lost all trust? Also today it emerges that Labour, they're going to raise fuel duty. The 5% cut the Tories brought in March 2022 is going to be phased out starting in September. So here you are, on your way to work. Your sandwich costs more, your electricity costs more, now your fuel's going to cost more. Who says this man's not the worst Prime Minister? Can I just repeat that start I got earlier, because it's my favourite one? Right now, the approval rating of Sir Keir Starmer is lower than Nicolas Maduro had in Venezuela, and he was a despot. 7:22.
across the UK. On DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
A very good morning, 7:25. In a tick, Robert Bates, Research Director at the Centre for Migration Control. Keep those voice notes coming, 0344 499 1000, whatever you want to talk about. Text as well, 87222. Paul in Wiltshire, good morning. All police in the old days are recruited from our armed forces, who used to have a red book that had their character reference in it. So if you'd done your time and got a rating of excellence, you could be considered for a job in the police or prison service. Yeah, how things have changed. Keith is in Sheffield. Good morning, Keith. I'm pretty sure the wokerati see criminal activity as a form, Christ, of diversity. You might be right. Phil's in Coventry. Jez, every day, every single day, it's getting bloody worse. This country's completely broken, an embarrassment. And if I could, I would. Graham, Vlad Keir Starmer's lifting of the 5p fuel duty saving will actually be a double whammy for working Brits. Not only will pump prices go up, but food, among other things, will also go up because of transportation costs. We will not raise taxes on working people. What a complete and utter lie. Morning to Rona from Staines. It's the top brass that are the clowns in the police. 99% of the frontline cops are day-to-day heroes. I absolutely get that point. Sharon Miller, I don't trust anything in this country. The government, the police force, I could go on and on. It's beginning to get me down. Hello to Margaret. This is true. All the price rises that you mentioned could be because of the amount of money this government gives away overseas and how it funds, this is true, migrants in hotels. Wow. And Alan Cooper, not Alice, says 12-year-olds are being brainwashed now for the next election. This is this astonishing story that Ryan found, that most 12-year-olds do not realise that they'll be able to vote in the next general election. I don't agree with this, but hold strong political views. I've got a 12-year-old. Are you joking? They just want to play on their PlayStation and play Roblox and go whatever. They don't want to go, oh, I think Keir Starmer's a bit of a knob. Did I say that word? Oh, well, there we go. 0344 499 1000. Keith is in Wolves. Is he not in Wolverhampton? Morning, Jez. Raising fuel duty means raising everything. Absolutely everything. You have everything you eat, drink, wear, blah, blah, has been on a pallet. Transported, he's quite right, by lorry, rail or aircraft. When fuel goes up, so does everything else. My God, it doesn't sound great. Let's move on. Let's talk about migrants. That'll make you happy. Good morning to Robert Bates, Research Director at the Centre for Migration Control. Morning, Robert.
Morning, Jeremy. How you doing?
I'm good. All migrants, God, will be expected to have A-level standard English as of today. Now, I'm just put it out there, probably get into trouble. I've said on many occasions, because I think it's dangerous when you get to rhetoric where you say, they're all nightmares, they're all thugs, they're all criminals. This country has a history of saying to people, if you can provide a service, do a job, pay tax, like what we are, respect what we are, learn our language, and enrich the United Kingdom, come. But unfortunately, we got to a point where people come to this country because we're soft. They get more than the indigenous population. Many of them are criminals. Many disappear. And it has created massive problems, most economically and socially, in villages and towns across this country. And I'm totally with the people who want these people to be sent back. Is it me or, you know, because I think if you come to this country, you should learn English. Is this just more Labour, I don't know, trying to just read the room but failing? A-level English as of today. Is this just trying to take the heat out of it? Because this is not going to happen, is it? Not at all. We can't even find the bloody migrants, let alone make them sit an A-level.
Well, yeah, and of course, these rules won't actually apply to those that come into the country illegally. Those individuals will continue to be given taxpayer-funded English lessons, all in the name of integration. And I think that is a large problem that is actually causing a lot of social unrest. Of course, we already have an existing problem when it comes to people speaking English. We have about 1 million people as of the 21 census that speak little to no English. Of course, the numbers will have exploded since then. These measures will only apply to a very, very sort of certain portion of those that come to the UK, only certain visa routes, whereas the large number of those won't actually have to meet these requirements. And of course, those that are on routes that will have to meet these requirements, we know now, we've seen story after story, will have ample opportunity to cheat the system, to use sort of dodgy, unscrupulous companies that provide them with effectively a rubber stamp on their ability to speak English without them actually meeting that standard. Unfortunately, what we are seeing now is across many, especially in larger cities and towns, is certain areas of those towns and cities becoming ghettoized, where individuals who don't really speak the language have taken themselves into themselves and have created effectively a parallel society in this country where it is the foreign language.
Okay, let's just take that point a minute, because I'm joyously happy at 60 that we can finally have these debates without being locked up. You know, 10 years ago, Robert, I've said it, you couldn't even talk about the word immigration because people had accused you of everything. The Home Office has put out to tender a 5-year, £816 million contract, nearly £1 billion, peeps, for companies to run English language testing for foreign workers, migrants, students from up to 150 countries. I would respectfully suggest that it would make more sense to spend £815 million trying to come up with a scheme that stops people coming to this country illegally and taking from the indigenous population what they've worked for. Why can nobody see this? Why do we wipe the backside of everybody, it seems, in our society now who doesn't deserve it? And seemingly that goes against the people who should be getting it, pal.
It's so insulting. And when you actually look at some of the contracts that are out there, you've got this one, you've got $250 million to sort of provide round-the-clock welfare support for illegal migrants. So, you know, if they don't like the food they've been given in their taxpayer-funded hotel, they can pick up the phone and have a ring and have a rant about the quality of the chicken casserole and so forth. It is a constant situation now where, in the name of integration, which is how it is always posited, those that have come from overseas and have made no contribution to the country are given every opportunity to really milk the system dry. And another stat that is absolutely astounding is that the DWP has a sort of legal obligation to provide interpreters and translators for those that don't speak English but are looking to claim benefits. You know, you kind of have to think, well, at what point do we draw the line? At what point do we say, no, this is what we expect from individuals that have come to the country. You've decided to come here. We, in large part, especially when it comes to illegal migrants, haven't invited you to come here. And now we're being expected to sort of cover your backside because you don't speak the language and you're finding it a bit difficult to maybe get a job because you don't speak the language. I think it's ridiculous. But when it comes to legal migration, the language barrier has been set so low, and you can see it across, especially in London, the inability of those that have perhaps arrived recently to sort of engage in the most basic and rudimental conversations. And I think, unfortunately, we are seeing a breakdown of that social lubricant that is really necessary for a proper, productive, thriving society to actually move forward together. Because if you're having to sort of spend 5 minutes explaining to an individual, you know, I want cigarettes in a shop, and they're not understanding what you're saying, you kind of, everything breaks down, everything starts to fall apart.
But you know what I find really interesting is they used to say, didn't they, that the reason that England is so important and its standing in the world is because the English language binds us. In fact, I suspect that many migrants, legally and illegally, have used the excuse that, you know, I've got family, or English is my second language. Well, bloody well learn it if you want to live in my country then. I'm really sorry if that's harsh to a lot of people, right? That is... To me, that isn't harsh. You know, I always use the story about the guy from Bangladesh who picks me up some nights off the train. His dad brought him and his brother to this country 40 years ago, and he sat them down and he said, we are very lucky, we are going to be proud of this country, we're going to work hard, we're going to respect the rules, we're going to learn the language. He, right, Kamal, is more angry about illegal migrants sponging off this society than I am. So all those people that say you're being unfair, no, I'm not. Ask him. Ask our Polish makeup artists who came to this country and built a business and worked their backsides off and speak better English than I do. Genuinely, ask them what they think of people who sponge. There are genuine migrants who have come to this country, embraced Britain. I'm not talking about religion necessarily, but language and culture, and made something of their lives and enriched our lives. We are full, this country, of people who are taking advantage, and it is up to us, surely, as a country to say, we're not going to be soft anymore. We're going to look after our own. If that makes me wrong, then you do-gooders on the left can have it, because that's how I feel. I'm not changing my opinion on that, Robert.
No, and I think actually the majority of the country will agree with you and those individuals that you talk about. We are looking now at a situation where there's sort of every part of the state, the whole apparatus of the state, from hospitals to the Ministry of Housing, Department of Welfare and Pensions. Every single part of that system now is geared towards allowing individuals to come to the UK and make no effort to assimilate, and allowing them to come to the UK and take advantage of systems and support that actually should only really be entitled to those that have paid into the system and those that are from this country and have actually maybe even got forebears from this country that have helped build the country as well. Unfortunately, out now you can, as we've discussed endlessly now in the last couple of years, is you can get off the boat, you can be given refugee status in many cases very, very quickly, and then from that point there is no expectation on you. Everything is thrown at you, sort of bundle after bundle of treaty and goodie is at your disposal, and you kind of think, well, we are now just here effectively giving away taxpayers' money that could be making the lives better of, homeless individuals or people that are maybe struggling a little bit, and all of that actually is now having to be redirected because of this suicidal empathy towards those that have made little to no contribution.
Couldn't agree with you more, my friend. Thank you so much indeed. We love having you on. The excellent Robert Brates from the Centre of Migration Control, 25 to 8. We're going straight to... let's do a voice note. Gaz, good morning.
Looking back at the fuel duty, this is just going to be another nail in the coffin for the construction industry. A lot of the difficulties that the construction industry face is the cost of building. Now, fuel is a massive cost for your dump trucks, your diggers, your generators, you name it. Everything is running off fuel. And all the people that are travelling to and from work. The construction industry is a barometer of how the country performing, and it's on its knees at the moment. And this is just going to be another one that's just going to knock it down even further. Get rid of Starmer quickly.
I couldn't agree more. 25 to 8. Let's go live to Westminster, Shadow Chancellor of the Exchequer, good friend of the show, Mel Stride, out in the cold again. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Jeremy.
Great to have you on, Mel. Lovely to see you. Happy New Year. Let's cut to the chase. I mean, your brief is obviously finance, and Matt Vickers, reviewing the papers this morning, making a big point about how the economy will become more and more central to the debate as we head further into this debacle and nearer to a general election. Overnight, it emerges that the cut the Tories made in March 2022, the 5p fuel cut that was to save many of us as costs spiralled, those businesses, the hauliers, the taxi drivers, whoever, the emergency vehicles, all those sorts of things, is going to be, well, dropped back. The planned fuel duty rise will be phased in over 6 months by Starmer, starting in September. He's already under pressure to perform a U-turn. This is with the first rise in 15 years when this begins in September. This is a government that is spending upwards of £10 billion a month on interest rates. Are they financially completely incompetent, Mel?
In a word, Jeremy, yes, I'm afraid, and the kind of issues that you've highlighted are evidence of that. What this government is all about is taking the wrong choices on the economy, increasing taxes, for example, on businesses, going out and borrowing and spending vast amounts of money that has stoked inflation, kept interest rates higher than they would otherwise have been. And you mentioned the servicing costs of our national debt there, running at over 100 billion a year. That's actually over twice what we spend on defence every year, just simply on interest to pay for the kind of debts that this government is racking up. So I'm afraid they're making the wrong choices. And on fuel duty and things, what they're doing is they're piling up pressure on hard-working people, but also on businesses. And it's businesses, not government, that drives economic growth, and the fact that we can go out and afford to do things is because we have, or need to have, a healthy economy. And I'm afraid the government's just taking the wrong choices on that. And what they are spending money on, of course, is benefits. So just today in the Commons, they will be introducing a bill to scrap the two-child benefit cap, which means that irrespective of the size of the family that you decide that you want to have, if you're on benefits, on universal credit, then the state will step in and pay benefits for those additional children. And we think you know, these are the wrong choices, I'm afraid. We should be getting taxes down, taking the pressure off taxpayers, not spending more on the benefits bill.
So let me get this absolutely straight, Mel Stride. So today the Labour Party will increase, will start the process of bringing a bill that will basically say you can have as many kids as you want, even if you don't work, and we'll just keep giving you money for it. My God, does that take me back? Appalling. At the same time, I've got people on this show, hard-working Brits, saying, why don't I just stay at home? Which to me is the biggest issue we now have in this country, because the people who live, Mel, their lives correctly and pay their bills and do it correctly are going, what's the point? Whether it's fuel duty or it's energy or it's food, everything going through the roof for the average bit. The cost of living is phenomenally worse than it's ever been for people.
Yeah, it's really, really bad. And if you look at most of the forecasts, including from the Office for Budget Responsibility, the independent forecaster, they state that things are not going to get much better over the next few years. And the reason for that, the fundamental reason, is that economics is about incentives, OK? And if you go out and you start taxing things, you get less of it. So if you go out and you tax businesses with national insurance increases, tax on jobs, you get higher unemployment, you get less output. And if you start to put money into benefits rather than into incentivising people to go out and earn money and generate growth in the economy, you get a sluggish economy and you get more people out of work. We've got unemployment now, Jeremy, at a 5-year high. You'd have to go back to the pandemic to have the same levels of unemployment as we have today. And, you know, this is the socialist way, I'm afraid.
It's extraordinary just how much of a debacle it's turned into. Front page of the Telegraph, your boss, Kemi Badenoch, this was a story that flew yesterday, which was they decided to attack drink driving, 1 pint and you'll be over. And I said yesterday on the show, everybody finds drink driving abhorrent and fine. That's one side of the argument. But what they were suggesting yesterday, on one front, I think people's liberty, the nanny state was a debate. The other was what it's doing to rural pubs. And the pub that used to be the hub of the local community, the place that you went to and relaxed. These businesses, and you just touched upon it, being utterly destroyed. Increased NI, workers' rights, the minimum wage, absolute disgrace. Kemi Badenoch overnight saying, I will save the pub industry. And I'd like you to reiterate this because I think it's a really important point and separates you guys in the Tory party at this moment in time, that all of those NI increases will be cut. Small businesses will be able to breathe again under the Tories. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. But the way we'll do it is by having a plan and a way to afford to do it. And what I announced at our party conference was £47 billion of savings in government spending. Now, that was £23 billion in cuts to the size of the welfare bill and benefits, slimming down the size of the welfare, of the civil service, for example, 47 billion in savings. Now, what you can then do is to start to ease the tax burden, particularly on businesses. And what Kemi is rightly saying is that we have announced that we will scrap business rates for pubs and high street shops up and down the country, about 250,000 of them, as a result of taking the tough but correct decisions on welfare and benefits and getting the size of government down. If you do those things, then you can start to take the pressure off those businesses and off our much-loved pubs.
Couldn't agree more. Love having you on the show. Before you head off, just one quite light-hearted story for you, Mr. Stride. Most 12-year-olds do not realise they'll be able to vote for the next Prime Minister in the next election. I'm amazed that, you know, a 12-year-old's more interested in Roblox and PS4 or whatever it is. This lowering of this voting age by the Labour Party is just desperate, isn't it? How is a 12-year-old... I mean, most people can see what this government is, but 12, Mel? How am I going to invest a 12-year-old in paying any attention to this rubbish for the next 4 years? It's ludicrous, man.
Well, it's gingered up my desire to get out and talk to primary school students in my constituency. Let me put it that way, Jeremy.
Brilliant. Listen, great to have you on, my friend. Good luck this afternoon. Mel Stride, Shadow, Chance of the Exchequer, live and exclusive on Talk Breakfast. What is it, 17 minutes to 8? So much to cram in between now and the end of the show. 0344 499 1000 for your voice notes. Text to 87222. And next, the main man, Peter Blexley, responding to the news today that Scotland Yard failed to properly vet thousands of police officers, which allowed rapists, racists and violent offenders to join the force. The voice of the police next on Talk Breakfast.
across the UK. On DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hello, good morning. 7:45. We're live across the United Kingdom. I'm feeling very buoyant today. I don't know why, because the world's on its backside, certainly this country. 0344 499 1000. The fuel duty debate continues to rage. In March 2022, the Tories cut fuel by 5p because of that terrible time. The Labour Party are going to put it back on starting in September. Morning, Paula.
They were talking about bringing the cost of living down for everyone last week. How do they think putting fuel duty up is going to affect everyone? Food inflation is rampant in the shops. And what's that going to do to the cost of transporting goods to all of the supermarkets? And what will the supermarkets do? They'll just put the price of the food up. So there's inflation up and there's the cost of living up yet again. They are absolute buffoons. Oh, please, get me out of here, Jeremy.
Paula in Liverpool, I would say many people in the UK agree with you. Oh, God, look at this. After serving 17 years in the military, Jez, I tried to join the police. I failed by a point. Back then, they had an online pre-interview test. I'm now so glad I didn't make it. Great show. I listen every single day. Just before I put Peter Blexley on, I just want to read this, because I think this would sum up a lot of people's old-fashioned view of the police. Jez, I remember 50 years ago, my local Bobby looked smart. Polished, clean uniform, shoes. He was respectful. He smiled. He just by his demeanour deserved respect. After visiting Surrey not long ago, I walked past a number of coppers. I thought it was a group of pirates. Untidy, long hair, dirty shoes, totally shabby, wearing high-vis like a construction worker, a WPC wearing makeup like a 21-year-old birthday. Am I allowed to say stripper? To be honest, why would anyone trust or respect them? Stephen Cornwall says they look ill-disciplined and ill-trained. There's only one person to respond to that and the main news story about the vetting process. A very good morning to the man who tonight starts his worldwide tour, Peter Blexley.
Good morning to you, Mr. Kyle.
Tonight's the night, isn't it? Tonight you become... you've got the same colour shirt on. Have you got... Look at it. It's like a blue morning.
Yes, we must have had a share out of the same lorry load of blue shirts.
Well, let me read something to you, because this one was going to change everything about the way that we dress again. You ready for this? This says... hold on, don't go anywhere, because it's true. She basically said... This woman, can you stop wearing that blue shirt because you look like Keir Starmer and you look like you've got it from Lord Ali. Don't wear it again. So we're both in trouble, Pete.
We most certainly are, but not as much trouble as the Metropolitan Police are in. Once again. And before I get started, I really want to pick up on what the contributor said about the PC of days gone by when they were smartly turned out. Now, I understand it is difficult for police to look smart these days in high-vis and a stab vest. That's very challenging, although more could be done to make them look presentable. But you know why people also respected the police back in those days? Because they patrolled on their own. They were vulnerable. Yeah. The public knew it, and the public thought to themselves, I'm very grateful that man or woman is doing that job because I wouldn't want to do it. And that was why there was so much respect. Now they hunt in packs and people go... Pfft.
Oh, has he gone? Are you still
No,
there?
I'm still here.
Oh, sorry, I couldn't even see it. No, I couldn't agree more. Let's talk about this main news story, Pete, because to me this sums up where we're at. Today it's reported in almost every newspaper Scotland Yard failed to properly vet thousands of officers. This included racists, rapists and violent offenders as they rushed around trying to create 20,000 new officers, but at the same time, literally to tick boxes. The two serial rapists are among more than 130 officers and staff let in due to vetting failures who have gone on to commit crimes and misconduct. And for people to understand the importance of this madness, this was after Wayne Couzens, after David Kerry, after all of that, right? Secretly, up to 6 forces dropped employment checks. What the hell do they expect the British people to think?
And this is the ridiculous decision-making of very senior police officers. And are they being held accountable today? Are they being named? Are they being shamed? Are they being bounced out of policing because they're obviously stupid? No, they're not. they're still in their very well-paid jobs. And not only did the rapists and the paedophiles and all the others get into policing, but some people deliberately went into policing and they were members of organised crime gangs. And they went in so that they could access databases, intelligence files and the such like. The public demand and expect police officers to be legit, to be straight. And this idiotic bunch of senior police officers let absolute vermin into their ranks.
It's just extraordinary. So we've got this appalling story about, you know, employment checks dropped, and we talk about the belief in the police. And there's that story. Is it Guildford, the chief constable in Birmingham, isn't it? Mark Guildford, I think. Craig Guildford, right? Craig Guildford. This is the man who blatantly lied and lied and lied about the impact of the Maccabi Tel Aviv Football Club's fans because he was trying to protect the Muslim community, presumably, who weren't happy about a Jewish-based Israeli team coming to play Aston Villa some months ago. He has lied and lied and lied. Yet there's no chance, it seems, of him being sacked or looked at or dealt with any more than Samart Rowley. I just, as an ex-copper, and I know this really upsets you and affects you, it breaks your heart, I know this, doesn't it, my friend, when a lot of people are now saying, don't trust the police, think the police are rubbish, don't trust them. What's the point? Don't call, because they're not going to turn up. I can write an article and they'll arrest me with 6 armed officers, but you know what? If I'm being stabbed or I'm having my shop ransacked, nobody gives a toss anymore, so why should I respect them?
These clowns that are senior police officers these days repeatedly fail upwards. They get things wrong, they get promoted. They get another thing wrong, they get promoted again. And look at those 4 who sat this week in front of that parliamentary committee. What a cabal of clowns.
Yeah.
No wonder the public look at them and go, you expect me to respect the police when you've got lying, conniving, scheming people like that? No chance. And just to pick you up on one thing, if I may, please, Craig Guildford didn't lie to protect Muslims. Craig Guildford lied because he was afraid of taking them on.
Yeah. I mean, we saw the videos at the time saying that there was a Muslim video I remember us putting out on I think it was Drive Time, actually, which said, if you come to this city, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, we're going to do the other. I'm not trying to make it about that, but there is something to be said. I mean, do you remember... We talked about this before. Maybe a couple of years ago, I interviewed that senior police officer that was looking into the child abuse cases in Rotherham, and he went, yeah, I know it's taken us 8 years, but we didn't want to stoke up social division. Oh, right, OK, so you're pandering. In my day, Pete, certainly in your days, watching the Sweeney and all that stuff, you know, you felt the long arm of the law, you were scared of the law. The law had a meaning, and I just think it's part also, without getting too deep, of yet more fabric in this country breaking down, because for me that was the most important thing. It was always the most important thing. You could rely on a copper to come to your aid or at least see your side of the argument, but not anymore, mate. I'm genuine. And forget being a woman. What about women's safety? I wouldn't trust the police at the moment, and that's a terrible thing to say. I really wouldn't. Sorry. Fact.
And it grieves me to hear that. But, you know, policing is not a popularity contest.
No.
Right? It never has been. And
quite right.
In fact, as a police officer, you should be mightily proud of the fact that you're extremely unpopular with criminals and people who want to take weapons out onto the street and the such like. There's only 2 communities that the police really need to engage with, because everything else will take care of itself. The first community, victims of crime. The second community, perpetrators of crime.
Yeah.
Sort those 2 sets of people out, one in the right way and the other way in a forceful way, and policing will be sorted overnight. So
listen, big news, you're out, you're off. The live tour starts tonight. It's Bromley, isn't it?
It is, thank you. The Churchill Theatre at Bromley, the first of 142 theatre shows that I'm doing this year. Go to entertainers.co.uk. You'll find a theatre near you where I'm presenting my one-man show, and it'll be a joy to meet you all after the show.
Am I getting free tickets or what?
Speak to me after you come off air.
It's absolutely outrageous that I have to beg. Final question for you. How old are you, Peter Bletchley?
Thank you very much. I'm 66.
I'm 60, and I've got this for you just specifically before you go. It's a great story from Ryan. Over 6s ignite a creative boom Brits in their 60s and 70s are ditching the armchair for art, craft and new skills. 2/3 say they're more creative now than when they were younger. From gardening to painting, creativity is boosting confidence and well-being. And experts say there's no expiry date on creativity, and the more you do, the longer you'll live, which means if you do 160 dates this year, you'll probably outlive me.
Well, who knows? But, of course, being creative can include writing interesting, gripping, exciting theatre shows, and that's exactly what I've done.
Do you know, for a man with such values, you're a cheap date, you are. But thank you for coming on, and good luck tonight, Churchill Theatre, Bromley. Peter Blexley, live and exclusive on Talk Breakfast. It's the Jeremy Kyle Breakfast Show. It's 5 to 8. So much in the news today. The police not vetting thousands of officers who got in, the fuel hike from Labour, and apparently the PM had a call with Donald Trump about Greenland, and 12-year-olds will be voting for the next Prime Minister. It's absolutely going on. Back in 3.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
A very good morning. 3 minutes to 8 o'clock. We're live across the UK. It's the Jeremy Kyle Breakfast Show, the home of alarm clock Brits. So much you're waking up to. Scotland Yard failing to properly vet thousands of officers, meaning that rapists, racists and violent offenders are now in our armed forces. The Labour Party are going to increase fuel by 5p in September. Good morning, Phil.
Talking about the fuel duty and whatnot, mate. Do you know before COVID, fuel on average was 99p a litre? Then COVID hit, and obviously the tanker drivers were told to stay at home, and so fuel shot up to £2 a litre. And everybody was up in arms and went mental. Oh my God, you know, it's gone up by 100%. And then the tanker drivers came back in, you know, the fuel started flowing back into the petrol stations again, and it dropped to 150. And everybody went, oh, thank goodness for that. But it was still a 50% increase. And now, it's now sort of dropped and levelled out to £1.30, which is still a 30% increase before COVID.
Phil, I couldn't agree more. I think one of the things that I've taken from this morning about this fuel rise in September is how everybody understands that in a country that the cost of living is decimating us in terms of foodflation, you think about energy costs, you think about council tax, all the things that have happened. fuel will only enhance all those problems. And many people, hard-working Brits, are saying, how am I going to cope? People are really struggling. Almost 8 o'clock. If you want to be on, 0344 499 1000, the only number you need. Send your voice notes to Ryan, producing for 2 days. Christian off, doing family stuff. Good luck to them. But Ryan is here. Lanky is back. Send him that voice note, 0344 499 1000. You can, of course, text the show, 87222. Start your message with the word talk. We'll start the next hour with the Sun's editor-at-large, or as many people say, the Sun's large editor, the legend that is Harry Cole, out of the news at 8, which is, of course, next on Talk.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hey, very good morning. Just gone 8 o'clock. We're live across the United Kingdom. The Jeremy Kyle Breakfast Show on Talk's the home of free speech, common sense, and more importantly than all of that, home of working Brits, home of alarm clock Brits. You know, you're doing your thing and you're wondering why, because it's not going great. As ever, so much in the news. The number one story that is really winding you up, and so it should. The Met Police reporting today that Scotland Yard has failed to properly vet thousands of officers, allowing rapists, racists and even serial offenders, viral thugs to join the forces. It's extraordinary. This was after Wayne Couzens. This was after David Carrick. The Met, one of 6 forces, peeps, right, to secretly drop employment checks on new recruits in a rush for extra cash as part of an attempt to find 20,000 new officers. Where does that leave us? Oh, I know. If you run a shop, nowhere, because they'll just come and shoplift. If you run, well, I don't know, if you have your own house, you get your house burgled and they don't turn up. And if you're walking down the road with your mobile phone or your watch, you'll have that nicked as well. Jane doesn't think much of this. Morning, Janie.
All this lot are going to be on whacking pensions and payments and all the rest of it, and free healthcare. And I just find it completely disgusting what this country has turned into. Sadiq Khan needs to get out of that office right now.
Well, there is a way to get Sadiq Khan out, and interestingly, our next guest tied into this next discussion, we're going to say very good morning to a man who had me hanging around this building for 12 hours yesterday. He's flown in from DC, he's very important, he's in his country mansion this morning. Harry Cole, editor-at-large, or large editor. How are you, dear boy?
Morning, Jeremy. I feel like I've seen more of you than most people on this trip back, but it's always a pleasure. Thank you.
I feel like we're married. We saw each other last night, yesterday morning. Welcome, mate. Can we actually start with what is a number? We'll talk about Layla and reform on your show last night, but this story about Scotland Yard and 6 other forces sort of cutting corners, dropping, employment checks in a rush to get 20,000 new police officers. Means, it's in every newspaper, that rapists, racist, violent criminals have got into our police forces, infiltrated databases, and I listen to people say, I'm not surprised. The thing about this country, and you spend your time in DC, is I thought the police was at the sort of forefront of everything we believed in. Do you? Do you have faith in the police anymore? Because I don't. Sorry.
I really did used to, and I really want to, but then case after case after case. You mentioned the Wayne Couzens' disgraceful crimes he committed, the sort of rot that was exposed in the heart of one unit of the Met. And look, this is also the problem with with recruitment and retention and basically political headlines like 20,000 coppers, which I think from the top of my head was a 2019 Boris Johnson pledge to turn things around. And when you set political targets like that, it does seem that corners are cut. But there is something deeply wrong with the Metropolitan Police in this country, in the capital, I think. I've long suspected, and I'm not alone in thinking this, and some politicians normally, once they are out of office, they've left the Home Office or they've left the front bench or they've worked closely with the Met before, they all say it's just too big. It's a vast organisation that's trying to do all of the anti-terror policing for the entire United Kingdom. It does all of the United Kingdom's most sophisticated crimes, specialist crimes units. High-profile crimes end up on the desk of the Met. It's trying to protect the royal family, diplomats, embassies. It's trying to do, and obviously then trying to patrol the streets of the capital to varying degrees of success, you might say. And then you look at a smaller force in London, like the City of London Police, which focuses on fraud crimes in the city, yes, but also patrols the City of London, which is one of the safest parts of London. You just think maybe this vast beast is unaccountable, too big. There's clearly...
Well, split it up then. Where's a politician with a brain cell that says, I'll have a department for immigration, I'll have a department for the police, I'll have a department for whatever else? I've heard that. I have. We get told all the time, oh, it's not fit for purpose. Well, make it bloody well fit for purpose. It's not acceptable.
That's the thing, and I think it was going to need, outrage and scandal and uproar and public backlash like this, I think, to put this on the agenda. Because politicians, they win in a big, they win in a big mandate, or they win an election, they come in, they want to do lots of things, and it's not exactly sort of eye-catching. Where we're going to reorganise Whitehall to break up the Department of Justice and bring it into a Department of Homeland Security, and we'll have a borders and immigration thing. It kind of looks a little bit like moving the sort of deck chairs around, but it does. These sort of rewirings of the state do need to be done, because I think vast parts of it, the Home Office I would include in that, the Ministry of Justice I'd include in that, obviously what the hell is going on Britain's borders I'd include in that, and the Met Police I'd include in that. Is these unwieldy, out of control organisations that actually any one or two cabinet ministers who change colours and parties and stripes every few years, actually they come in and realise they're not in charge. These are being run by the organisations themselves, to the detriment of Britain.
This is why you always say to me you're going to get into politics, it would drive me utterly insane, because I believe that if you're elected, it would drive me, I'd end up going mad, be absolutely hopeless. Can I ask you, just bring it to Starmer a bit, we'll talk about Layla and London in a bit. Today, Labour's planned, first time in 15 years, this temporary 5p cut in fuel, which has been an absolute saving for so many people, made in March 2022 by the Tories, as there was issues then, is going to be brought back. So there's going to be a 5p rise. It's going to be phased in over 6 months, starting in September. Starmer already under pressure. We look at, I guess you from DC, you've arrived back here for a few weeks, and you look at this country, food inflation, you talk about energy prices, you talk about everything. Fuel hike will affect not only, will it affect everybody? It'll put food prices up still further because lorries that deliver it, the transportation, everything comes on a pallet. Obviously, people trying to get to work. Do you believe that yet again, this is another example of a man who is literally out of his depth, Harry Cole? You followed politicians. I saw him yesterday in the Commons. He's starting to look like a startled rabbit, man.
He talks a very good game for the election. Obviously, as you well know, I spent 6 years as the political editor of The Sun campaigning on this exact issue every budget. Because of the Sun's Keep It Down campaign, we kept fuel duty frozen, and fuel duty still has been frozen from where it would have been risen for close to 15 years. It's the most expensive campaign in British history. That we deprived, rightly, the Treasury of billions and billions. I think it was up to about £90 billion over that decade and a half of duty. And Keir Starmer before the election and Labour before the election, well, they said very clearly, we are on the side of the motorist. We are on the side of the people that drive. And lo and behold, what have they done? They've talked about potholes a bit. And the first opportunity they've got, well, the second opportunity they've got, they froze it. They kept it in that first budget. But Rachel Reeves came back for more and is scrapping that 5%. It's another classic example of a Labour Party that is metropolitan-based, Liberal-led, that doesn't really understand that most people in this country who go to work in a car. Labour has spent the first 10 days of this year wanging on about freezing rail prices. Well, that's great. But that is a tiny proportion of commuters, tiny proportion of people that go to work in this country use the trains. Yet, most of the people who are politicians, most of the people who are Labour cabinet ministers, most of the people who are Labour MPs are the ones that use the trains. And the drivers are picking up the tab. Just like people who are going out to work are picking up the tab for people that don't want to go out to work. At the top of your show, you talked about this show being for Alarm Clock Britain. And no wonder Alarm Clock Britain is angry at this, because it affects their livelihoods directly. People outside of London, rely
There
on
are many of them, by the way, just for all those London-centric people who think the world reverberates around here. There's millions of them.
And yes, look, fuel is a little bit cheaper than it was at the height of the pandemic, or a little bit cheaper as it was when global supplies forced the prices up when this cut was introduced. Sure, but as your voice note caller a moment ago said, it's not like things have gone back to normal.
No.
In the United States, fuel is ridiculous. It's about equivalent of about 58 pence a litre.
58 pence a litre. What is it here? 150, 160?
150 if you like. 138 if you shop around, I reckon. But most places for convenience will be about £1.50. So it's not like we've gone back to a situation where fuel is cheap.
No.
But actually, there it is. Any chance to squeeze anyone, you squeeze on your way to work, you squeeze when you get to work, you squeeze when you have a pint after work, and you squeeze on your way home. It's just like...
Well, you won't be out of a pint soon, because they want to abolish pubs. I have to say, you look at it, and I'm interested from a DC point of view. I spent 3 years there. You're living there now. Much written, of course, about Trump, Venezuela. Here's a fact for you. I bet you didn't know this. Do you know that Starmer's approval rating today at 11% is lower than Nicolas Maduro's was in Venezuela before Trump went in? That tells you something. But Trump, Venezuela, threats about Greenland, love him or loathe him. Here's a man with a pair of cojones. I look at our Prime Minister and I genuinely, this isn't about politics. I generally think we're being ridiculed at home and on the international stage. I just think it's extraordinary.
I was quite pleased to see Britain get involved in that raid in the North Atlantic yesterday.
Bella One oil tanker, yeah.
Russian tanker, Venezuelan tanker. There's clearly something. There's clearly something on that tanker which is of great alarm and concern, because given how lily-livered and mealy-mouthed and wishy-washy the British government has been since since Maduro was taken out by Trump, refusing to say it was a good thing, sort of hiding behind this big leaf of international law. The case against this sanctioned ship must have been pretty strong if even Keir Starmer's given our boys the all go.
I agree. You know your comment about international law, right? I was going to say this to you yesterday. You're still there, aren't you? Because I can't see you. Yeah. You know this whole... everybody's appalled that Donald Trump has broken international law and international law and international law. And yet, when anybody tries to stop migrants coming into this country by quoting international law, they change their whole position on it. Listen, Donald Trump is not everybody's cup of tea. I'm sure there's plenty of people who disagree with everything. I will say one thing as a caveat. I think there's always a reason behind what he does. I don't think it's as madly bad as everybody thinks. I don't know. This could be Russia, China, oil. I don't know. It's just that I don't know whether he's just that sort of person. In my mind, I never want to underestimate Donald Trump. But yeah, you're right. Look, Starmer, what is his position? He's had a call. His spokesman said he had a call with Donald Trump. Did he? Did Donald Trump take the call? Does he give a toss what England thinks anymore? Do you know what I'm saying? It's just.
Well, I think he does. What that raid in the Atlantic showed yesterday is that even though the politicians have their moments, and yes, there's been this sort of weird bromance between Starmer and Trump. I think it's more strained than it's ever been. Yes, we're working together on the Ukraine stuff, but what that showed yesterday is actually the US military and the British military actually do still work pretty much hand in glove, regardless of who the politicians are. The special relationship, to use that sort of corny phrase, isn't just about the King and Donald Trump posing up for photos. It isn't just about Keir Starmer or whichever the latest British Prime Minister is dashing to Washington to have a pat on the head in the Oval Office. It's far deeper than that. It's always good to see it in action. It's in the skies, it's under the seas, it's cables, it's satellites, it's space, it's defense infrastructure, it's spending, it's spying. Day in, day out, whoever the politicians are, and whether you like them or loathe them, behind the scenes, the Americans and the Brits are working hand in glove every moment of every day to protect both our nations.
Daryl says, tell the excellent Harry Cole this. I've just come back from Florida, unleaded in Florida, $2.38 a gallon. He says Trump's right. Drill, baby, drill. I mean,
exactly.
Listen, I've never understood, Harry, right? I've never understood this, and people get really angry. The friends of the earth have a go at me. We've got, and I know he calls it liquid gold, we're totally skint to the tune of $10 billion a month in interest, and yet underneath the North Sea, I've got gold, and I can take that gold and I can pay off my debts. No, let's import it and leave it so we don't upset the bloody seabed.
We've spent so much time together in the last 6 hours that we've started to finish each other's sentences. Exactly where you were going with that one. Well, listen, look, Florida, not only does it have incredibly cheap gas, as I have to call it in America, you know what? They've also got zero state income tax. So you can see why New Yorkers are fleeing Mandami, the new socialist mayor, and heading to Miami for some sunshine, some cheap gas, and a very reasonable tax rate.
Yesterday on Harry Cole meets the Saves the West, meets the West. Brilliant.
Harry Cole meets Jeremy Carr was most of the shit.
Well, listen, to be fair, the last guest was pretty crap, me. But you had a lady who's been in the news, all over the newspapers today. The new Sheriff of London, say the Daily Telegraph. I'm a big fan. Layla Cunningham, an ex-councillor from Westminster, born to a Muslim mother and an Egyptian father, a mother of 7, is going to be standing as Reform's candidate in the London election. Now, despite Matt Vickers this morning saying, well, she only defected at the last minute, the fact of the matter is Layla's become somewhat of a beacon, I think, for many people in this city who are looking absolutely at getting rid of what's he called again? Oh, yes, Sir Sadiq. I know, yeah.
Sir Sadiq, please, give me a
yes, Sir Sadiq. Have a watch. This is my brother-in-arms, Harry Cole, interviewing Layla last night on Harry Cole Saves the West. Have a watch.
On the right, there's been a bit of a brouhaha since you've been announced as a candidate today. I'm not talking about within Reform, but the people on the even further to the right in British politics suggested that you're somehow some sort of possibly, quote, possibly an Islamist, and Reform have capitulated. That's the word. To Islamists. What's your response to that?
Number one, they're not the right, they're the far right, right? And I don't even think that they're far right. They're just, the thing is, I don't see myself as a British Muslim, a British Egyptian. I see myself as a British person. That's it. And whether you're Muslim, Hindu, Catholic, gay, trans, you know, we need a mayor that is there for everyone equally, not some select groups.
What do you think they're trying to do there by sort of stirring us up? Well, you know, the suggestion that you're possibly an Islamist. I mean, how does that make you feel? What is your response to that direct, ridiculous charge?
It's so ridiculous, I just ignore it. Honestly, it's some Twitter tunnel vision that they have. I'm the strongest person to call out radical Islam. I'm the strongest person to say that if Muslims move here, they have to embrace British values.
Harry, you've been around a long time politically. Layla for London. Good shout for reform. What do you make of the lady?
Yeah, a very astute appointment, actually. Look, Boris Johnson won London in 2008 as a Tory, and that was an upset. London is a left-wing city. It's traditionally a Labour city. The inner bits of London even Labour have lost to the far left, the far extreme left, the sort of sectarian left in inner city parts of London, like Tower Hamlets. Look, you know, it's also got very nice leafy boroughs around around the donut of London, which, you know, traditionally have tilted to more conservative leanings. The Conservative Party is still struggling to recover around the country, especially in London. Sadiq Khan is, you know, going for this historic fourth term, is it? You know, does not have a strong record to stand on. Very clever of reform to embrace someone who, yes, she's a former Tory, but then she can bring sort of soft Tory votes. She can bring the reform vote, but also crucially, she needs to bring in voters who have never voted reform or Conservative before. And I think she can do that. And so to have this weird sort of like hissy fit by, you know, internet lurking, sort of bottom feeding, dwelling, you know, online far right types that somehow, because she's, you know, of Egyptian heritage and moved to London and worked in London and married an American and has been, you know, has raised a family, a big family in London, she's somehow an Islamist or some sort of fifth columnist, or this idea that anyone who's a Muslim, regardless of how they behave or act or integrate or live their life in this country, is somehow barred from office by, well, frankly, the colour of the skin and their ethnicity and their religion. It's crackers, and it's an argument that's been had in the States about, you know, who is really an American, and it's basically, well, if you didn't come over on the Mayflower, are you really as American as, you know, someone who's lived the American dream? And I just think that we just don't need to import that sort of ethnic nationalist arguments.
I think she's
she held her own there.
I think she's a breath of fresh air. I'll be doing everything I can to help because I want Khan out. Two things before you go very quickly. Harry Coleisms, it's a new thing. We're heading back to DC. We'll see you there in 4 weeks. Bottom blowing was one of my favourites this morning, but the greatest line out of your mouth, what is brouhaha? That's fantastic. What does that mean? That's fantastic. What does that mean?
Brouhaha, you know, brouhaha is, you know.
No.
Yeah, it's all a brouhaha in my mind is a sort of a fight in a Scottish pub car park.
Did you mean the lady that's on at 10 o'clock, Julia Brouhaha, yeah?
No.
I didn't do that. That was Ryan. That was crap. You know what I'm saying? Harry, bless you, man.
My very best.
I'll see you for breakfast after the show. We're going to live together in the end. Harry Cole, editor-at-large, The Sun. Catch him, of course, nightly at 10. Harry Cole Saves the West, only here on Talk. 8:22, it's breakfast.
This journey of me following the migrants went from sort of 10 in the morning, all around the clock, to late at night, to the point where, you know, on buses, on trains, through streets, at every key point, French military police and the French police, they were there. They were on the bus, taking down notes, taking pictures, but not doing anything to deter the migrants or stop them, just being there.
across the UK. On DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hey, very good morning to you. It's 8:25. That was my 3-minute dash to the toilet halfway through the show. Welcome to Talk Breakfast. It's the home of Alarm Clock, Brits and Common Sense. 0344 499 1000 is the only number you need. Text to 87222. Let's just take a hike. You heard the intro, Talk Money. This is for you, Rick. We are, I mean, to be honest, generous people here at Talk Radio. I mean, 2026, if a marketing department could come up with a figure of money to give away, what would you do? Personally, I'd have given you... No, I'm joking. £26,000, yes, 26 grand. It's our biggest ever New Year cash giveaway, and it could genuinely be yours. It's really simple as well. Just text the word talk, OK? This is a different number, 83338. 83338. Text the word talk to that number. You could win £26,000. I'm deemed to tell you that calls will cost, text rather, will cost £2.50 plus your standard network rate. Or you can, am I reading this number? People in their cars, I don't know, 0343 423 9761. The simple way to enter this and win 26 grand tax-free in your account, pays for what the January tax bill pays off the debit card or credit card from Christmas, is to text right now. 83338. I'm only joking. He's very happy, Ryan, that I've done this, because just to let you know, Rick, he's been telling me all morning, and I've been telling him to do one. This is a network promotion, full team terms and conditions at talksport.com. So for your chance to win, seriously, guys, £26,000 tax-free, text 83338 plus the word talk, and you could win that massive cash giveaway. 8:27. Morning, Dave.
Regarding the senior police chiefs and the decision making that they've made in the lack of vetting for these criminal/police officers, I would say they should all be sacked. I will say they should all be sacked. However, what I'm more inclined to say is I look forward to hearing all their names being mentioned in the New Year's honours list for their OBEs that they are inevitably going to be receiving for the wonderful work that they've been doing. As always, keep fighting the fight. Enjoying the show.
Thank you very much indeed. Listen, it's Talk, and it is your show, and I appreciate so much the text. I know we always don't get as many through, but we will do them. Mike Cookney, I think, makes a great point. He says, Jez, the Met Police have had lower joining standards for decades. When I joined Lancashire Constabulary in the 90s, I know many officers who were rejected for our force who went on to join the Met and relocated occasionally as a result of that. Oh, yes. There's a lot of people who are saying, sorry, so it was Saturday that Starmer told us he was going to make us better off, and today he's in fact raising fuel duty. Well, in September. How long will it be before the gaslighting kicks in again and they tell us inflation is dropping? Utter cobblers, says Pete. Richard says, I'm English and struggle with it. What? What? Struggle with what? This is the text. I'm English and struggle with it. Does that mean I can be up for being deported from this madness? There is light at the end of the tunnel. What is he struggling with? I don't know. Has he got some sort of... I don't know. Maybe he struggles with English, maybe. So there isn't any light at the end of the tunnel. That's a very good point, Mark. Very well done. Morning, Jez. Everything depends on haulage. If Starmer is not careful, he's going to end up with a complete haulage strike, leading to a general strike with this fuel hike. I believe we are not far away from this if there is not a change of government soon. I believe this guy is the devil in disguise. Can I just repeat something that I was told earlier? His approval rating, right, I think Trump's is sort of 42% in America, is 11% and lower than General Maduro, who was just kidnapped by the Americans, and he was a dictator in Venezuela. Hello to Natasha. Jez, my son-in-law, who is South African, first language English, had to pay for his English language test when applying for citizenship and spoke it better than the person that was interviewing him. Good God, Mick in Wallington. Unless they close the nest of DEI operatives at the College of Policing, nothing will ever change. Right, 8:30, every day in the Sun. There's a wonderful column, page 10. Today, it concentrates on the sort of attack on pubs that many people believe is taking place by this Labour government, and is written by the legend that is Ross Clark. Good morning, Ross. How are you?
Good morning, Jeremy. Fine, thanks.
Just to put a bit of a detail for people who perhaps didn't hear yesterday's show, they sort of announced, the government summarily yesterday, that they wanted to attack drink driving, and we all support that. They wanted to bring the limit down to a pint instead of 2. A couple of reactions from the people that watch and listen talk. One was, this is more nanny state stuff, surely we can make our own minds up, blah, blah, blah. The other thing was the attack this poses on pubs, certainly in rural communities, pubs that have been decimated, Ross, as you know, by national insurance increases, many small businesses suffering across this country. And it sort of led to this belief that Labour does indeed hate the British pub so much. Great article on it today. How do you sum it up?
Well, pubs are facing a sort of maelstrom of increases in taxes and other costs. The worst thing for many of them is the business rates. Business rates were, well, they were punishing before the COVID pandemic, but then during the pandemic, the then Conservative government sort of cut the business rates, gave them a tax break. That has now been removed by Labour, with the result that some pubs are facing a doubling of their business rates to sort of over 100,000 in some cases. I mean, that is a vast extra burden. And of course, they're not, let's say, the same businesses they were before the pandemic. They're not necessarily as profitable. You know, it's not just taxes which are killing off pubs. You know, young people are drinking less and so on, changing tastes, and more people perhaps going to city centre establishments rather than those in the suburbs and villages. But even so, I mean, the tax system ought to take that into account. And if a business is less profitable than it used to be because of changing tastes, well, then the tax bill will fall. But of course, in this case, business rates are simply being assessed on, you know, the profitability of those businesses in the past, which is not helping them at all.
I couldn't agree more. I guess my point is, I mean, I think you could make that argument. Oh, look, there's an interesting, if you are watching on YouTube, something I said last night, it's very interesting, isn't it? Look, there's 3 Labour MPs in a pub. One of the things that's quite interesting, Ross, is that so angry are landlords that they've been banning Labour MPs from their local pubs because of what they've done to the business. But the issue of your article, the headline which sort of drew me to it, was we know that Labour's NI increases have attacked small businesses across this country. In fact, that lie when they came to power, it's all about growth, it's all about the working man, but that's turned out to be false. But why is it, do you think, that they seem to hate the pub so much? We've had the smoking ban, we've had all those sorts of things. There are people that listen to this who text and say they're against it. It's the hub of the community. People go there to discuss. What's your take on that?
Well, I mean, Labour to me seems to have completely lost its sort of community bearings. It doesn't really care about communities so much now. It's the left, and Labour in particular, have become a sort of amalgamation of activist groups, special interests, pressure groups, and so on. And they've rather lost this, you know, community spirit. I mean, go back a half a century, and the tap room of your local would have been a thoroughly Labour constituency of working people just out there to enjoy themselves, spend a bit of their money. And now Labour don't seem to care about that at all. And
it's a really interesting point, because I was up in Newcastle some weeks ago, and of course this is a working person's area, right? God's country, working men, right, and women. And actually, everybody that I spoke to, speaking to a paramedic at a football match, and he was saying, was brought up, my dad voted Labour, my granddad voted Labour. There's a title in the clue of the party, Labour Party. He said none of us would vote for them now. They're London-centric. They don't understand the working man or woman. That joke about they're based in Islington, I agree. That red wall that seems to be captured, be it by the Tories last time, obviously, because they were so incompetent Labour, but I think the working man and woman's being failed. I think they've completely lost sight of who they were set up to look after and protect.
Yes, they've sort of declared war on the working man.
Yeah.
At the same time, they also have their guns on the small businesses. You know, what Lenin would have called the Gulag classes, people who own, a bit of property, own a small business. And if Labour talk to businesses at all, it tends to be to the large ones which want their smaller competitors extinguished because it's more profitable for them. And it is very telling that the one cabinet minister who seems to be pushing back on the business rate rises is Peter Kyle, the business secretary, and he's the one who does have some business experience. He worked for the Body Shop and a sort of very left-leaning business, but a business nonetheless. And all the others, they seem to be brought up in this cosseted world.
Never done a job. Never done a job.
Public sector where you don't worry about your salary, don't worry about job security, don't worry about the security of your pension. You're looked after by the state, and this government is, almost wholly serving that class of people, the public sector classes, and everybody else, it seems, can go to hell.
And it's interesting, actually, because we were talking this morning about how the latest opinion polls, and you go, well, who are the 20% that are still voting for this, allegedly, if you look at opinion polls, for this bunch of people who have proven themselves to be so utterly useless, with no business experience when you look at that front bench, Ross, you're right. And you come to the conclusion that it is the public service workers and the train drivers and all those people, the junior doctors that got 30% and want another 30%. Listen, it's a really, really interesting article, and it does beg to ask so many questions. But one of the things that actually Mel Stride was talking about, the Shadow Chancellor, who was on the show this morning, was that as we get nearer to an election, the one thing the Tories will talk about repeatedly is the economy, is cost of living, is people's rights, but basic finances and making things work, because screwing businesses, small businesses like pubs, as they are doing, has a really, really detrimental impact. I really appreciate your time, Ross. Lovely to see you, my friend. We'll speak to you next week. Thank you for that. 25 to 9 o'clock. Some sad breaking news, actually. Former Leeds and Wales midfielder, he was a legend, Terry Yorath, has died overnight at the age of 75. It's a family statement. This followed his daughter, Gabby Logan, the BBC presenter, leaving Match of the Day halfway through last night. She was replaced by Mark Chapman. She rushed to his bedside. Sad news. Former Leeds and Wales midfielder Terry Yorath dying at the age of 75. This is Talk Breakfast.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
A very good morning, my friends. 22 minutes to 9 o'clock. It seems that certain people in this building were very happy when I just announced that you win £26,000. It's our New Year giveaway. It's courtesy of Talk. It's a across-the-card promotion. It's really simple. You want £26,000 tax-free. It's the second one for you, Ricky. 26 grand tax-free. Text right now, 83338. 83338. I can give you the phone number, but you won't remember it. But you will remember the text. Text the word Talk, 83338. You can win £26,000. And frankly, if you do that, I think you should give me 10%. Good morning, Paul.
Morning, Jezza. Great to see you on the morning show. Loving the new backgrounds. Fantastic listening to you all the time. Just wondering why you borrowed Keir Starmer's shirt to wear this morning. Great show as always. Keep it coming. The home of common sense.
I'll tell you exactly why, because Lord Ali rang me up after the show yesterday. He said, white washes you out, love. He didn't at all. And so he said, if I send you some blue shirts, he sent Blexley one as well. I've been told I look dashing and I've been told I look like a git, so I don't really care. Do you want me to do that competition again, or have you had enough of that now? 26 grand, it's unbelievable. But ladies and gentlemen, there is a storm on the way. Weather, you would think some people go, why should we talk about the weather? People are obsessed with the weather. Storm Goretti, which sounds to me like a cheap Italian beer. Goretti. Is that a good impression? No. It was named by the French, Storm Goretti. Don't like the French. Anyway, there we go. Storm Goretti is on the way, and I'm not making this up. A danger to life warning has been issued with 12 inches of snow and 90-mile-per-hour winds set to batter the United Kingdom. There's only one meteorologist to get on. She is the best. Claire Nazir, a very good morning again.
Hello, Jeremy. How are you? And blue does suit you. It's good with your complexion.
See, getting it. See, even the Nazir's thinking I'm looking cool this morning. Claire, I wanted you back on. You're the best by a mile, in my opinion. This is, on a serious note, a massive weather storm. I mean, I live down on the south coast. There's going to be torrential rain and very, very strong winds, 70, 80 miles an hour. But we've had people on from Aberdeen, 12 inches of snow already. How far across the country is it going to spread?
OK, so Storm Goretti is coming in this morning into this afternoon. Wind warnings. We're now up to that gust level to 100 miles an hour across the far southwest of England. It's a risk to life, basically. And amber snow warning from Wales to the Midlands. We could see, 6-7 hours of snow causing problems if people are travelling overnight. So this is very different to what we're seeing in Aberdeenshire right now, where we've seen over 0.5 metre or so and communities cut off. The one in the south will cause problems if you are travelling, problems with high waves, ferry crossings, etc. It's tracking along the south coast, so that's where the strongest winds will be. Severe gales extending to the southeast of England and some heavy rain. So we could see flooding, we could see some blizzards. It's nasty, it really is. And the advice is just stay at home until it clears.
Do I get my train at 10:30 in time to get to the south coast before it hits? That's what I really want to know. I'm just doing this out of purely selfish reasons, to be honest.
This morning you'll be okay, yeah.
The other thing is as well, if you look at the map, and I found myself becoming a bit of a meteorologist at 4 o'clock this morning because of the train. The snow sort of starts where? Because my son's going to miss it again and be gutted. But how far up the country do we think? I mean, we talk Aberdeen, we talk Southampton, but whereabouts do you think it will start snowing, Claire?
OK, so it's likely to start snowing this afternoon across the Brecon Beacons in Wales. And then as the air becomes increasingly cold, we'll see the snow fall to lower levels, extending across northern parts of Wales, extending also east across the Midlands. So that's where we're likely to see the highest accumulations. There's always some uncertainty here in the UK with when it turns back to rain under this type of scenario, because the temperature needs to be around 2 freezing, 1-2 degrees to -1 for that rain to turn to snow. So that's quite borderline for some regions, particularly more eastern counties. But through tomorrow, we could see some wet snow even as far east as eastern counties of England. And as it draws away, Goretti, snow showers moving in yet again across eastern parts of Scotland and northeast England. So Pennines will see some as well. So lots of different weather out there, lots of different hazards and risks. It really is just worth staying tuned to the forecast, because I think the warnings will be updated yet again. And certainly in the south, that it's really the wind which will be howling around that low pressure system, causing problems with flying debris. And people, there is a risk to life. You're seeing flying branches or, tiles off roofs, etc. You know the score.
And also, it's one thing, and I don't want you to ever be political because you're too brilliant, but we were talking yesterday about the drink drive thing and saying, come on, let us make our own decisions up. This is what infuriates me when this sort of weather hits, because you'll see, the air forces have had to go into the sea to protect somebody who's decided to stand next to the sea and a 60-mile-an-hour wind's blown them in, or somebody's decided to go for a hike up the Brecon Beacons. We have to be responsible, don't we, when weather like this hits?
It's a really good point, Jeremy. You're absolutely right. And that's why storms are named, because people resonate with a name and realise that something bad is on its way. And we find that when we do name storms, there's much more of a pick-up in information and messaging right across all social media, channels like yourself, which really dedicate to this type of impact, because it affects everybody. And all it takes is just, you know, a little bit of advice and people can stay safe. And then the weather becomes okay again.
Completely. Naz, you're mine. I love you. Thank you so much indeed for dropping everything for us again this morning. Claire Nazir, meteorologist. Storm Goretti will make its way across the United Kingdom this afternoon. A danger warning to life. OK, 12 inches of snow in parts, drifting, 80 to 90 mile-an-hour winds on the coasts. As she said, as I said, just being honest, just you have to take responsibility. If you don't have to go out, if you don't have to drive, don't. Just be safe, stay warm. 8:45, Talk Breakfast.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. 30 minutes to 9. Julia Hartley-Brewer, the Queen of Westminster, from 10 o'clock this morning. Ian Collins from 1 and Peter Cardwell. Peter Cardwell's on Drive from 4. Do you want to win £26,000? Because, honestly, I'm going to mention this every link now. Just to, honestly, Rick, you're going to be able to tick your box. You could win £26,000 because it's 2026. It could have given you 2 million and 26,000, but we're not. We're giving you 26 grand, and all you have to do is text your name and the word talk to 83338. Terms and conditions online at talksport.com. It's a massive cash giveaway. 3 mentions in 10. I'm going to drive you nuts with this competition. Let's talk sport quickly, Big M. Push the button.
90 minutes in 90 seconds. From The Sun.
Good morning to Gary Stonehouse, North Eastern Yorkshire football reporter from The Sun. How are you, son?
I'm fine, thank you. Are you well?
Not bad for a balding 60-year-old West Ham fan who's used to being depressed. Don't laugh. Who do you support?
Middlesbrough, we're flying high in the Championship. Could be swapping places with you this summer.
Could be swapping places with Wolves, the team that your manager defected to. But there we go. Gaz, great to have you on. You will maybe or maybe not know I spend an awful lot of time in Newcastle. It's my second city. My best friend lives there. I have to say that I've made a decision in terms of, like, this job. I genuinely take myself to bed by 9 o'clock. I have to. I'm too old. But last night I had to stay up and watch that game between Newcastle and Leeds, which I believe categorically was the greatest advertisement for the Premier League ever. It finished with Newcastle scoring, I think, in the 12th minute of extra time to win 4-3. Chances, open goals, hitting the base. Was absolutely fantastic advertisement. Did you watch the match, pal? It was great.
I was actually there, Jeremy, and it was unbelievable. It was obviously an emotional charged night with the sad news regarding Kevin Keegan coming out before kick-off, and it just had to be 4-3, didn't it, after that? that news of
Thought
scoreline.
about that. Yes, of course.
With him, fortunately, it went in Newcastle's favour, but what a game. For the first half an hour, Leeds were sensational. They should have put the game to bed, really. Newcastle were all over the place. Malik Chow had a bit of a nightmare, didn't he? I
thought it was great that it wasn't that sort of turgid left, right, very defensive. It was just hell for leather. Appalling defending. Everybody gave the ball away. It was just a brilliant, brilliant watch. Couple of board draws as well. City drawing, Aston Villa losing ground, and Arsenal, who've got Liverpool tonight, could go 8 points clear. I'll put to you something I put to somebody the other day. You're a reporter. Do you agree that if he doesn't win with this squad after 5 or 6 years, if Arsenal don't win the Premier League, Arteta's... he has to win it this season, doesn't he?
Of course he does. I'm totally in your camp. How many chances does he want to get? I think it was 2 or 3 years ago when they ended up drawing with Southampton, who were basically down, and they blew it then. He kind of got a pass then for sort of bottling it. I know Arsenal and Gooners don't like that word, bottling it. They have been a bit unfortunate since then, but this time it's totally in their hands, and we'll see tonight if they can go out, get that lead. That's a clear sign they're ready to do it. But yeah, I'd agree. It does feel like it's now or never, doesn't it, for Arteta?
I also watched a little bit because I love because my mate Dave supports them, so it's always nice to win money off him. The problems at Spurs continue. It's an extraordinary story. The best ground in the land. They took Thomas Frank this summer, who'd done an amazing job with Brentford, who, by the way, under Keith Andrews are 5th or something. Good luck to him. Thomas Frank, they lost again. That was written in the stars. Semenyo, who joins Man City today, scores a 5 minutes from the end, scores, and they win. Thomas Frank getting a bit of heat. Do you think he lasts? Because there was also this... Did you see this last night? It was a picture of him spotted drinking coffee out of an Arsenal coffee cup, walking around the Bournemouth... What is wrong with people? That's going to go down like a lead balloon, man, isn't it?
I do think he came out after and said, obviously, it was a mistake. Arsenal were there at the weekend, but you couldn't write it, could you? No. And if anything's Spursy, that is Spursy. The manager walking around with an Arsenal cup. But yeah, it's just... They're just not getting there.
Does he last, Thomas Frank?
Does he last? I mean... Will the club back him this window? They're desperate for reinforcement. It seems such a silly decision to allow Brennan Johnson to leave when they're desperate for win and attackers. At least get somebody through the door first. Yep. When he went, it made you think they had somebody lined up coming in, but there's no one there. More games are passing by. They're dropping more points, and all it's doing, like you say, is putting the pressure on him. And the fans don't seem to be having him. It's going to take a lot to turn that round.
Big shout out to World Cup and Spurs hero Martin Chivers, also dying yesterday. But can I very quickly, back of Sun Sports, same old story. Man United under Darren Fletcher, 2-2 drawing at Burnley last night. Big question. I've got my theory. I'm going to ask you 3 questions and let you go. Who will be the interim manager of Manchester United to the end of the season? Who will be the new Manchester United manager, and who will replace Thomas Tuchel in England? There, I've got answers to all 3.
Right, Solskjaer.
Yes, I agree.
Very silly in my opinion, him going back there, but that's their choice. Who will take over?
Tuchel.
That is
Tuchel.
Tuchel?
Yeah. And Eddie Howe, and my mates are going to hate me, Eddie Howe should be, without any shadow of a doubt, the next England manager by a merry bloody mile.
I'm going different. I think it'll be Lee Carsley, Gareth Southgate style, promoted up from the 21s.
Really? What, the guy that can't sing the national anthem?
He's led them to 2 European championships.
He might well have done. Eddie Howe is the best England manager in this country that there has been for a long, long, long time. No, he's not going to go to Manchester United, and I hope he never leaves Newcastle. The only reason he should leave Newcastle is to go, in my humble opinion, to England. Get us with opinions anyway. So you are a Middlesbrough fan. You're heading up, you get promotion, do you think, under Hellberg?
We'll see. We thought the wheels had come off over Christmas with 4 games without a goal, but... brilliant result against Southampton on Sunday. Walloped them 4-0. Took us back to second. It's all in our hands now. But like every club, we're chasing a striker to help us get a few more goals this January window. If we can get that, the could be no stopping us.
I'm in trouble already from Rob, who's going to be working with me very soon. We'll tell you more of that from Newcastle. It was unbelievable last night, Jez. That's fever pitch football. Well done, Leeds. The ground was a special place to be seen last night. There aren't many grounds in the world with a better atmosphere than St James's Park. I'm going to beat you up if you dare ever speak about Eddie Howe like that again, you tosser. So that's a lovely message to have got this morning on my phone. Gary, thank you so much indeed. Gary Stonehouse, North Eastern Yorkshire football reporter for The Sun. Brilliant. Are we going to an ad break? Oh, we're going straight to calls. You were. Ryan is here producing, by the way. Ryan of Drive Time fame. Christian away for a couple of days. And Lanky's doing a good job, a sterling job. His wife said to him yesterday, because he was doing Drive Time till 7, why don't you share Jez's hotel room and not come home? He said to me, isn't that nice of her to give the impression that she cares about my sleep? And I'm thinking, she don't want you in the house, mate. Something's up. That Lauren's misbehaving. It's a joke. Don't get upset in the workplace. We don't want any of that. We've got a sense of humour. Let's go to Doncaster. You'd have to have one to live there. Graham, just a joke. Good morning.
Good morning, Jezza. Firstly, your shirt looks lovely.
Thank you very much indeed. This shirt is causing great consternation this morning. Apparently I look like a cheapskate Keir Starmer.
No comment, mate. Anyway, listen, this regarding the police in West Midlands with the Tel Aviv football fans.
Yes.
Why, Jezza, does one police force in this country not turn round and say, you know what, we do not have the police capable of stopping trouble from these? They're frightened to death of them, Jezza.
Well, certainly the truth.
Mate.
Certainly the truth.
And control them.
I completely agree. I know what you're saying, and people will be offended. But the truth of the matter in the West Midlands was there were, and we played the videos on breakfast. There were Muslim groups putting out videos saying if those Israelis, I'm not even using the words, come to this city, there'll be a fight. So the local police chief, and his name's what is it? Craig Guilford, made the decision that he would ban Maccabi Tel Aviv fans from coming because he said they had a history of violence. It turns out this guy's a blatant liar, and this was all about the fact that he didn't want to upset the Muslim community. It's the same as happened in Rotherham. I've told this story many times. When the grooming gangs thing was being investigated, the police there told me in an interview, we did it slowly because we didn't want to stoke tensions. I don't care about your religion or the colour of your skin. We should all live together. But if it goes the other way, people have a right to say that's not fair, right?
And they're petrified, Jez, and that's top and bottom of it, mate. We need police like we used to have when I was young. I'm not saying I was an angel when I was young. I wasn't, Jez.
No.
But let me tell you, mate, when police come for me, I won't go in, mate.
No, you mate.
With some butts.
Completely agree with you.
They're all there now with the rainbow wristbands on, mate, coming from the little colleges. They're not police. They're not capable. And that's why they're frightened of the Muslims, because they would not be able to control them. They will not run away and turn like our lads do.
I do think the police should change, though. Listen, great to see you. Do you know why I hate Doncaster?
Go on, Jezza.
Had a car crash there. Brilliant. Just laughed at a car crash. Ended up at a neck brace. Thanks, Gray. Let's go to Norwich quickly. Barry, 2 minutes on... I nearly said drive. I meant breakfast. What you got?
Yeah, I'd like to make a comment on the police.
Yes.
I just think it's riddled with woke, diversity and all this rubbish. I think the worst thing that they'd done with the police was changing the police from a police force to a police service.
Yeah.
When they became everyone's social
Is that
worker.
when they weren't literally... I don't know if anybody knows this. They changed the word force, police force, because it sounded like it was too aggressive.
Yeah.
That's a load of tosh.
A load of garbage. I mean, you know, they will turn up at your door, like you said earlier on, armed police, if you put a few hurty words on one of these social media sites. But, you know, if you want to run into a shop and steal £200 worth of stuff or whatever else, do you know what I mean? Yeah, fill your boots.
No, I couldn't agree more. Listen, how's Norwich this morning, apart from crap at football? How's Norwich?
What I was going to say, the team you should be talking about is Norwich. How is Norwich? Norwich is cold. Yeah, right. Wet. Yeah right.
Great. Well, it's lovely to be in the United Kingdom right now, isn't it? Baz, thanks for tuning in, my friend. Have a good day. Almost 9 o'clock. We're live across the UK. The Jeremy Kyle Breakfast Show at the home of Alarm Clock Britain. Rob's been back on from Newcastle. Watch it, Kyle. The Newcastle job is bigger than the England job, I don't disagree. You know, I'm going to abandon any support for West Ham and start cheering for Newcastle 100% of the time. In the next hour, legendary commentator and columnist Rod Liddle will kick off the 9 o'clock hour here on the Jeremy Kyle Breakfast Show ahead of Julia at 10, of course. And if you want to be on, as ever, get your voice notes into Lanky 0344 499 1000. You can also get your texts on the show 87222. Do please start your message with the word talk. And don't forget, in the next hour, I'll be telling you some exciting news, how you could win £26,000 tax-free, which will please Ricky and everybody else on floor 17. Back in 3.
This journey of me following the migrants went from sort of 10 in the morning, all around the clock, to late at night, to the point where, you know, on buses, on trains, through streets, at every key point, French military police and the French police, they were there. They were on the bus, taking down notes, taking pictures, but not doing anything to deter the migrants or stop them, just being there. I was sat in the tent and he was showing me through photos of his phone, scrolling through. This was barbaric, horrific stuff. Blokes going through walls in vehicles and then jumping out and shooting everyone. You know, his WhatsApp picture was him with a mask on, with a gun like that.
You're in a tent with this guy?
I'm in a tent with this guy, and actually he's just showing me this stuff. I'm just thinking, this is not the kind of bloke you want to be coming to the UK.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
A very big welcome to the final hour of the JK Breakfast Show for Thursday. Julia here from 10. We're talking everything in the news. We're talking about Scotland Yard. We're talking about a fuel duty cut. We're talking about if you're 12, you'll be picking the next Prime Minister. But I've got to read this out because this bloke says you won't read this out. Jay in Brighton, you misinterpret everything about me. He says, you're a great bloke and I love your show, but could you please stop bloody well going on about your age? Anybody at your age would look good if they'd spent the money you have on Botox and facial treatment. Great show, but I bet you don't read it out. I bet you do, right? I bet I do read it out because it's absolutely true. I go on about my age because I'm insecure about the fact that I'm 60, and of course I can't move my face and haven't done for 15 years. So I hope that makes you very happy. I don't care. Good morning, Mick. The biggest danger to Britain's economy is Ed Millipede and his lunatic policies. I couldn't agree more. Oh, hello. Jez, watch out calling Harry Cole the Sun's large editor. He might be eligible for £35,000 compensation. I agree. Talk, Jez, morning. Hope all is well. To join join the police, don't you have to have a criminal record and a background to join these days and a better chance of moving up the ranks? Says Dan in Leek in Staffordshire. Nick Moore says to be a school caretaker, a person has to have an enhanced criminal record check, and yet to join the Met, come on, don't worry about it. What an absolute show this country is. Ladies and gentlemen, there are a few commentators and columnists I bow down to more than this next man. Sun columnist and a man who will tell it as it is. A very good morning to the legend that is Rod Liddle in the semi-dark. How are you, sir?
Why am I in the semi? I've got lights pouring on me. It's like I'm on a catwalk in Milan or something.
Well, if you were on a catwalk in Milan, no bugger could see you, Rob. But we're delighted to have your dulcet tones and your.
Don't understand it. Don't understand it. A pleasure to be here. I'd forgotten you were a West Ham supporter.
All right.
Sorry.
All right, Liddle. Who do you support?
Millwall.
Oh, well, you listen, let me just say one thing without being accused of inciting violence. We used to win on the terraces if we didn't on the pitch. Rod, as again on a daily basis, it's criminal. Let's start with this appalling story reported today that Scotland Yard failed to properly vet thousands of officers, allowing rapists, racists and violent offenders to join the force. 2 serial rapists are among more than 130 officers let in due to vetting failures, including in 6 forces, buddy, dropping employment checks just so they could scramble 20,000 new cops through the door and tick a few diversity boxes. How disgusting is that? And what a terrible, terrible way to treat the British people, isn't it?
Yeah, but the thing that bothers me is that the way that this is being reported is that they just dropped these vetting checks in order to get more people into the police force. That's not what happened. You mentioned it, but it's not being mentioned enough in the headlines or in the papers. It's diversity, equity, inclusion. That's the problem. And it's a problem not only in the police force, where they're waving through ethnic minorities with criminal backgrounds. One guy who was allowed through, they decided to ignore his rape charge. They decided just to ignore it because he was a different colour from you and me, Jeremy. And this is happening in institutions up and down our country, in the National Health Service, in the education system, in the judicial system. DEI is a scourge on our country. We imported it from the USA, and they're doing really well with it, aren't they?
No.
And it is calamitous. It's injurious to people. It penalises people. It is actually racist.
I think that's a really interesting debate, and I would always be brave enough to have it with somebody of your experience. I find all racism abhorrent. Let me just say that at this particular point. But I think we've got to a point in this country, a bit like the debate about gender, whereby what I consider to be balance has disappeared out of the window as we die on this altar of an ideology that says that the colour of your skin, your religion, your disability or whatever else is seemingly more important. I don't know if I ever told you this story. I've told the show many times, and I make no apology for repeating it. A friend's partner's daughter's boyfriend, I'd say 23, semi-professional rugby player, intelligent kid, first-class honours degree from university, wanted to get into the financial markets in London, did an internship, white, middle-class, 23, wrote 200 CVs in the last 12 months, Rod. 200 CVs, 12 months, not one response. He got drunk with a mate one night, and a mate jokingly said, you need to do this. He changed one part of his CV and wrote non-binary and got 4 interviews in 2 weeks, and I'm not joking. I'm not joking, man. That's appalling.
Yeah, not surprised at all. It's an appalling thing that we've now got a generation, Generation Z, of young men particularly, but also young women if they're straight, and I believe that 7 or 8 of them still are, who are not getting jobs. They're not getting promotions once they've got a job because they don't tick an ethnic or gender balance box. It is an appalling thing.
What do you say to people who say that merely mentioning this is racist?
I wouldn't even have a debate with them. They're morons. You see, when I was 18, 19, 20, all through my 20s, I went on anti-racist marches. I think I was the first person in the northeast Middlesbrough Teesside to join Rock Against Racism, and I went on gay pride marches. They were called campaign for homosexual equality at the time. And I did that because I didn't wish to see those people discriminated against. Like you, I think racism's awful, but I didn't go on those marches in order for white people to be told that they're privileged and should apologise for the colour of their skin, or that black people should always automatically have access to jobs that the white people are denied, nor, in fact, for gay rights campaigners to tell me that a chap with a penis could be a woman. You know, we need to turn this giant tank around so that it's facing back in the other direction again, because it has gone too far. People never stop on campaigns. They get everything they want, and then they go further and further and further.
And those professional agitators jump on board, and I'm so with you. I mean, this is completely off-grid, but I had an amazing conversation with the founder of the Women's Network yesterday about this. I mean, something that I'm so strongly against, this trial on 200 disadvantaged and in some cases you know, really impaired children, impacted children, of puberty blockers, right? And we live in a world where, or a country now, where we think it's all right to give 8-year-olds from disturbed backgrounds a thing that says, we're going to stop your puberty because apparently you've shown a desire to change gender. No, they haven't. And you learn about yourself as you go through puberty. And this is allowed. This is playing dangerous games. And much like DEI, I absolutely get that there have in the past been instances of unfairness and those needed correcting. I get all of that, but we have swung, as you said, this bloody tanker in a direction that says that, and this is going to get me obviously told off, I don't care, that what I perceive to be normal, that's my right, is it not, is perceived as something completely outrageous and is trashed and thrown away and criticised and cancelled. That's what annoys me.
No, that's exactly right. And not only does it do all that, but as you'll see with the Met Police, it can lead to great harm further down the line. Lionel Shriver's written a very good book about the campaign against intelligence, and if you a very good novel, very funny. She's a very funny writer. And if you look at what's happened with the DEI targets, particularly there was a hospital in California, I think it was the California Institute of Medicine, but don't quote me on that, although you have to, I suppose, because I've just said it, where DEI targets actually led to the deaths of patients. You know, because there were people performing operations who simply were not capable of performing those operations, but have been fast-tracked through because they have a different colour skin to you and I.
I think this story, this police story, you know, for me, you and I growing up, the very fabric of what society was is you were a bit scared of the copper. You were a bit scared of the bobby on the beat. If they grabbed you by the collar and took you home to your mam, you were in for a hard time. But no, none of that now. The other thing I know that you'll have an opinion on, my friend. Every day I come in here with a spring in my step and my hat at a jaunty angle thinking, no, we're not going to make it about Starmer today, and every day yet more pennies from heaven are dropped. Today, it appears that in March 22, you'll remember this, the Conservatives cut fuel by 5p. Yeah. It was needed because it's not just the private car, it's everything that's transported on pallets, like food, like everything, right? That's how our business and our country works. Labour's planned fuel duty rise is to be phased in over 6 months from September. Already he's under pressure to turn this round, because this will be the first fuel duty rise for 15 years. This is another broken Labour manifesto pledge and is going to impact still further on the cost of living, which is draining so many English people.
Yes, it is. I mean, we've got one of the highest costs of fuel in the developed world. I think we're just behind Netherlands and Denmark. It's wholly wrong, and it goes directly against what the main plank in Labour's manifesto was, which was to get the economy moving. So they kept saying, let's get the economy moving, and then in subsequent budgets have done exactly what is needed to stop the economy completely. And that was, you know, the national insurance rises on firms and also putting up for fuel duty. And it's you know, you've got Ed Miliband there, who is determined, in the manner of a kind of Iranian Ayatollah, to get us all on this net zero stuff, which does not work, you know, and is not working. The one good thing he's done is commission these modular nuclear plants up and down the coast of Britain. That's a good idea. That's reasonable. Don't have a problem with that. But he is still of the opinion that wind will see us through. Well, let's see how that works over the next couple of days.
I don't know. You'll know this more than me, but I was absolutely gobsmacked about a month ago to discover. I know the argument of, so you're gonna grab the farmers' land and you're gonna put your stupid wind farms up, which don't create enough electricity because it doesn't blow enough, and then you'll have to import it from abroad, which will mean our bills do indeed go up, not down. But here's the even better bit, which you'll know, Rod, is that if it does blow a hoolie like it's going to do later with Storm Goretti, that to turn it off or to store it is even more expensive and will lead to actually us losing electricity and importing even more. It's absolute madness and will cost us billions, and we're skint already, aren't we?
No, that's absolutely the case. Wind farms are not the answer to our energy problems. No. Everybody knows this, apart from Ed Miliband, it would seem. And yeah, you know, the fuel price increases are a problem for, you know, cost of living. All of this will play against Labour, of course, when it comes to the next election, assuming they don't actually scrap them, which isn't beyond possibility. So you might expect them to lose the next election as a consequence, in which case good, but in the meantime people are going through more hardship, and our businesses are closing down, whether it be the pubs, whether it be the shops, the restaurants. You know, in the little town that I live in the middle of the Pennines, we've seen all the good restaurants close down. The pubs are on their uppers. Pubs are closing down regularly. This government doesn't understand how the economy works, or what the aspirations of its people are. That's the problem with Labour. And I know quite a few Labour MPs who got in for the first time in 2024. Good people who really wanted to improve, you know, the way Britain was run. And they are as aghast as we are, Jeremy, at the way in which this government has gone about its job.
Let's talk about this government. I'm going to give you a fact you'll love. This will create a smile on Rod Little's face. Did you know that right now the approval rating of 11% for Sir Dreary Starmer is lower than that of Maduro, who just got kicked out of Venezuela by Donald Trump? I mean,
yes.
For God's sake, man.
Yes, I did. Mind you, there's one caveat to that, Jeremy.
What's that?
We hate our political classes. We just can't stand.
But what do you make of him? Because he is the worst, isn't he, man? I mean, I don't think I've ever met anyone worse. Do you?
I think he probably is the worst. Let's look at the good points. There are one or two. He's tended, with the exception of the Chagos Islands, to play foreign affairs rather well.
Yeah.
You know, he's managed to keep us somewhere on board with Donald Trump without actually backing Donald Trump. He's played a canny game there. Everything else he's done, he seems to have no idea as to how, as to a narrative, as how to sell a story to the public about what his government is going to do.
Because I don't think he knows what it's going to do. I think he lied about growth, and he lied about being for working people. I think he's an over-promoted lawyer who doesn't, Rod, have any DNA which beats inside him and says, this is how I want to make this country better, or change it, or this is my vision. I don't think he's got a vision. His first 100 days, the woman that orchestrated that had been gone, didn't she, Sue Gray, on day 93?
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. He is a corporate man. It's as John Betjeman put it. I am a young executive, no cuffs and minor cleaner. I have a slimline briefcase and I drive the firm's Cortina. He's just one of those people who, you know, has risen as a consequence of a perceived competence, which I'm afraid was very, very misplaced. And he's been a disaster for the country. The caveat I was about to mention, and this is important because it's about how we vote and what we care about, is that every Prime Minister for the last 6 has had the worst approval ratings in history. In other words, every Prime Minister who has come in has had a worse approval rating than the one who preceded them. And I think that's because we're sick of the two-party system, frankly. Maybe it'd be different if Kemi Badenoch or for that matter, Shabana Mahmood were Prime Minister. I don't know.
Nigel will be the next Prime Minister, won't he, Rod?
You would think. There are still problems as to whether. I mean, I've said before and been wrong about whether Reform can grow its vote over 30%. It's just edged back down a little to under 30% at the moment. It remains to be seen if he can persuade. If we can persuade another 5% of the electorate that he's a good thing and will do a good job, then yes, he will be Prime Minister without question. Other than that, you've got the wonderful spectre of Sir Keir Starmer in alliance with Zach Polanski and Mrs. Fruitcake, Zara Sultana.
Do you know what somebody called Zach Polanski? I'm going to do it again, and Ryan's going to hover his feet.
Do it.
Hypnotits. Which I think is...
Hypnotits is very good.
This is the hypnotherapist who said, hypnotised, before he became a politician, he said he could make women's breasts grow. One final thing, Rod, front of the Sun, your newspaper, my newspaper today, TV drama on Channel 5 on Sun investigation. Look Who's Hugh. Martin Clunes playing disgraced BBC pedo Hugh Edwards, the man that announced the Queen's death. It was the voice of the news. I'm going to try and be as calm as possible because I want your take. I think it is an absolute disgrace that pedo is walking the streets getting £200,000 a year. I cannot believe the BBC are so goddamn incompetent. I'm paying my licence fee so that pervert can live comfortably. It does my head in.
Yeah, it's not a good look for the BBC. They're incapable of dealing with their top talent. They always gather together in a kind of corral when trouble arises and deny that anything wrong has taken place, and that's why we're in the position that we're in with Hugh Edwards now. They continued to believe, even as the police were bringing charges, that he was actually a good bloke who'd been brought low by skanks. That's what they thought. That is genuinely what they thought. And
well, I've seen the video on the train station platform, and I think he's a disgrace, and he should never have been allowed not only his freedom, right, I think that's a disgrace, I think it is awful that we're still paying him. Again, you know, this show's aimed at, you know, alarm clock Brits. You work, I work, all these people that are working. And what's he doing? Swanning around looking at disgusting images of young children, and he's a free man, and he's being paid a ton of money to enjoy his life.
Well, indeed. Yes, it's pretty shocking. I know that the current BBC chairman, Samir Shah, has begged him to give the money back.
Can't you take him to court? Can they not do anything legally? Is there nothing?
Well, I think they thought about taking him to court and then saw that they were done.
Well, what about sending a loan? What about sending a debt collector around? You know.
Yeah, that's a good idea. A repo man.
A repo. I know somebody in Newcastle that could get that 200 grand in a heartbleed. Let me tell you. Now, apparently, Rod, I have to ask you this because earlier on, somebody said that my blue shirt, my dark blue shirt, made me look like a cheapskate Keir Starmer. Because apparently Starmer likes a blue shirt, and they wondered whether I'd got it from Lord Ali. Apparently, there you are. You can see. Oh God! Thoughts on that? Don't ever put.
No, I think you look great. You look slightly as if you're a member of a right-wing paramilitary force in Eastern Europe. But that's good. That's a good look. I like that. You know,
General Kyle, Rod.
Yeah, General Kyle.
You know I love you, man, and I'm so grateful that you took time out for us today.
Pleasure.
We'd love to have you on more. Rod Liddle, Sun columnist and top man. Thank you very much indeed for being on. At 9:22, if you want to be on between now and Julia, 0344 499 1000, and that's an order from General Carl. Back in 3.
I'm Mark Dolan. Join me every weekend from 6 a.m. for the stories that matter to you. We talk politics, we talk news, we talk entertainment, we talk about everything that affects your life. There's only one place to start your weekend, the home of common sense. Talk Breakfast on Talk. 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. every Friday, Saturday and Sunday here on the home of common sense.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
So you want me to do it totally straight and totally seriously? OK, cut the music. Here at Talk Radio, we're welcoming the new year by giving away a massive £26,000. Seriously, though, my friends, thank you very much, Joe. And what a better way to kick off 2026 than a chance to win some serious cash. 26 grand, 26 for 26. This is how you can enter. You can text the word TALK and your name to 83338. Those texts, of course, costing you £2.50 plus your standard network rate. Or you can call 0343 423 9761. Lines close at 12 p.m. on the 9th, which is, of course, tomorrow. That's when you'll need to answer your phone if it rings. UK 18 plus. This is a network production or even promotion. Full terms and conditions at talksport.com. So it is a massive chance to win, OK? 26 cash-free. No, tax-free cash, isn't it? It's not cash-free tax, it's tax-free cash. You can win 26 grand. Texting the word TALK to 833. Wish you the very best of luck. That's the last time I'm mentioning it, because I'm going to go and enter when I finish the show. Joe Twyman, founder of Delta Poll, we bow down to your brilliance. Good morning. How are you?
Good morning. Yes, I'm good, thank you.
Good God, it's busy this morning, man.
It is. It's a day.
It is a day. Now, the thing we've sort of talked before, you're one of the few pollsters that I like talking to because you're always quite straight. A lot of them are very set in what they think is going to happen. I don't know how many polls it is, but the latest opinion poll, I think, is number 160 or something that puts Reform in the lead. This time as well, Labour third, Tories climbing a little bit. Couple of points that I wanted to ask you. There has been a little Reform drop-off. There has been a little bit of a Tory increase. Labour collapsing. And Hypno Boobs, as I call him, Zach Polanski, what's happening with the Greens? All of those questions, all in one, my friend.
Yes, so what it's really important to think about is not individual polls, but instead the long-term trend, which is what you've talked about, but not talking about the number of polls, but the amount of time that those trends have lasted for. And it's since May, really, since the local elections, that Reform have been ahead in every single published poll. And certainly the long-term trend is one of a lead between sort of 7 to 10 points, depending on which polls you look at. More recently, however, there has been a slight drop-off in Reform in those long-term trends, and that, at least so far, appears to be benefiting the Conservatives.
Why is that? Is that just Badenoch's grabbed the nettle, do we think? Do you think it's... What do you think?
Well, it's unlikely to be just one thing, and instead a combination of a number of them. Obviously, Kemi Badenoch is an important part of the Conservative Party's story, for good or bad, and she has improved her situation
I interviewed her the other day.
Definitely. Over the last few months. She's still in a situation where 1 in 5 people actually doesn't know whether she's doing a good or bad job at all, which is an issue for her.
But would it be fair to say to you as a pollster that she reminds me, I'm afraid, very much of William Hague, probably the right leader at the wrong time? If you were asking me as a voter, I would say that even if I started to warm to Tory policies, right, they need to serve what I call their penance for allowing this bunch of whatevers to be in power, but also for all the lies and mistakes that they made. I think a lot of people out there that you would poll would probably agree with that sentiment.
There's a really good argument to say she's a great Conservative leader for 2010, not for 2026, which is. But of course,
you can't choose your era. It's just a situation you have. Labour have consistently been really neck and neck with the Tories now for a number of months. Essentially, it's statistically insignificant, the difference between the two. In other words, they're neck and neck. And then you have the rise of the Greens, which has occurred since the selection of Zach Polansky as leader. And so now you have a situation where Reform are falling back slightly, and then below them, 6, 7, 8 points behind, are not just Labour and Conservatives, but Lib Dems and Greens as well.
What are the Lib Dems at? Another non-entity.
Well, they're on similar numbers in some polls as well, 15, 16%.
And of course, for Nigel Farage and for Reform and for leading Yes in 161 polls, the reality is that many people in Reform, and in fact many people in the country, and this I guess is the argument, this is what the man needs to do in the next 3 years with his team, is to make sure that the establishment, as I call it, Labour and Polansky and the Lib Dems, that there is an answer to them doing anything possible to stop him getting into 10 Downing Street. Do any of your trends show you that he can do this on his own? Because there's been murmurings of, you know, you'll need to go with the Tories, and they both say yes and they both say no, or whatever they say, it doesn't matter. I know that Nigel Farage would want to become Prime Minister with a working majority. Anything in the polls that show that?
Well, Zach Polansky, firstly, I think would argue that he's certainly not part of the establishment. But that's an important point, the sort of...
No, I'm talking about the establishment, the mass media, whoever you want to talk about it.
Reform versus anti-reform, I think, is the way to look at it.
Probably.
And when you look at the polling, actually, one interpretation of it is it's actually good news for Nigel Farage and Reform, because in a situation where you have a 4-5 party race in individual constituencies, or even a 6-party race in Scotland or in Wales with Plaid and the SNP, you could have a situation where you only need 20-25% of the vote to win in the constituency.
I agree. And actually the argument against why, or rather for the uniparty thing that's always worked, is I remember when the SDP started out and when the Liberal Democrats, they'd end up with 10,000 votes in every constituency, sometimes 20, lots of seconds, lots of consistent support, but never the Tories, south of Watford Gap will get 60,000 in each constituency and win 350 seats, and north of Watford Gap will get nothing, and it didn't matter because that's how the vote panned out. Reform, I'm thinking, probably, and the Greens, I don't want to get involved, would probably have consistent support in all constituencies across the UK.
Well, it's certainly true for a number of constituencies, but there is still variation. First past the post hurts parties until it really doesn't, and then it helps them. But it's worth pointing out that the SDP that you mentioned, in the early 1980s, they were on more than 50% of the vote in some polls, and 9 years later getting beaten by the monster raving loony party in a by-election.
Do you genuinely believe that Nigel Farage and Reform can win an overall majority at the next election?
They certainly can, but we don't know what's going to happen in the next 3.5 years. It's within the last 3.5 years that Boris Johnson was talking about his plans for a third term. Yeah. So an awful lot can happen.
And it was only, 18 months ago that Keir Starmer walked into Downing Street with the biggest post-war majority, and look what's happened there. It's actually a paper majority, because I think he's in trouble.
We can speculate about routes for Nigel Farage to become Prime Minister. We can speculate for routes for Reform to completely collapse. But it is just that, speculation. Polling is only ever a snapshot of where we are at the moment.
When you're out in the street or when you're doing your polling, what are people saying about the Prime Minister? Is that a recoverable position by Labour, do you think?
Well, if the last 10 or 15 years of British politics have taught us anything, it's that nothing can be ruled out, but also nothing can be guaranteed. So can it be recovered? Yes, but every day that goes past and the Prime Minister and the government's position does not improve, it makes it more difficult and less likely that it will improve.
There was a story in the newspaper today. I mean, I made light of it. It's frightening. Most 12-year-olds do not realise that they will be able to vote in the next election. This research said they hold strong views. Other 12-year-olds, they don't. They want to play the PlayStation. What are you talking about? I don't know what you feel as a pollster. Dropping the age to 16. People who are 12 right now could pick our next Prime Minister. It's too young, isn't it?
Well, people who are 12 inevitably would have picked up the next Prime Minister in 6 years as well. And you could argue that they're not paying attention now, but they don't need to pay attention now because they're not going to be voting until they're 16.
But I mean, I'm talking about the ones that will be 16 straight away, and then within a day or two they can vote in a general election.
I think there's strong arguments for and against it. Yeah, I do think there are. But I think whatever happens, it has to be accompanied by serious efforts within schools to inform people.
Oh, we're going to have an argument now.
Because
our schools are utterly, utterly, utterly run by many people who have a complete objective, which is, and I'm not just saying this, but left of centre. We know that.
I think the situation is more complicated. Not all schools.
Not all schools at all.
But I stress there should be an important move from schools to inform people of their responsibility to vote, because there's a lot of evidence that if you don't vote in the first opportunity you're given, you then, if you like, don't get into the habit.
I think it's a really interesting point that you've made, actually, because whether there's responsibility on schools or parents or whatever, parents should take a responsibility as well. One of my real pet hates is people who moan and bitch and quite rightly get upset by government decisions, and then you find out they didn't vote. I believe that exercising your democratic right is probably the most important thing that we have. And one thing I was going to say to you is, one thing I do feel very strongly about is that the silent majority who for years have accepted many things, whatever their politics, have worked out that their vote and their voice can be important and can be used.
Yeah, and that's very important to the health of any democracy, that people do exercise their vote. And obviously people have a right not to vote as well, but if they choose not to vote, they must accept the consequences that
Well, I think that's the point, isn't it? Everybody moans about Sadiq Khan, me the most, but 1 million people in London voted in the last mayoral election, and 11.8 million people live here. People just didn't come out. So if you're going to come out, vote as you want to vote. That's your democratic right. But don't sort of carp from the sidelines in the end if it doesn't work out. Prediction time. I know you're 3 years away. Look, he doesn't like this at all, Joe, does he? Does Nigel Farage enter Downing Street in 3 years? In your opinion as a pollster?
Well, no, I can't give you my opinion as a pollster because polls are not a prediction.
All right, what about your opinion as a...
I think at the moment it's the most likely outcome, but it is by no means guaranteed.
Polls, do you do polls amongst MPs, or is it just...
we don't, but
does Keir Starmer survive the next 12 months?
I think, again, not the most likely outcome, but I can certainly see perfectly reasonable reasons for why he does. I think the May local elections will be hugely important.
And what's polling saying about May? Is it, are you doing polling
Well, because it's only a specific set of constituencies, it's difficult, but Scotland and Wales clearly present a serious challenge for Labour.
Scotland and Wales, of course, they're holding the Senate and the Scottish Parliament's elections, so that's would-be MPs. I don't think Reform will win Scotland. It will be to come second and oust Labour to the SNP. But then the SNP had a terrible, terrible time, didn't it, with the problems of Nicola Sturgeon and motor caravans and money in the garden.
But as lots of different parties have shown, whether it's the Greens, whether it's Reform, or whether it's the SNP, your performance in individual areas, even whole nations, or councils or particular constituencies, doesn't necessarily impact on your vote when it comes to elections.
It must be fascinating what you do, actually, when you cut it all down. Do you find it must be interesting to see how all these... You can tell, can you? Was what I always find really astonishing. I remember watching Julia on the night of the election, and they do that prediction at 10 o'clock, and I've watched it for years, and it always turns out to be incredibly accurate before they've even counted the votes. It fascinates me how it works, because many pollsters get things absolutely spot on. Some don't by a mile, but more often than not, the polls are very accurate.
Well, there's always a margin of error associated with every poll, and you can't abolish that because it's to do with the laws of probability, and you can't abolish those in the way you can't abolish the laws of gravity. But generally speaking, in this country, within that margin of error, polling has been relatively accurate compared to actual outcomes. But as I say, the polling at the moment is not a prediction of where we will be in 3.5 years. It's a representation of where we are at the moment.
Completely. Great to have you on, Joe. Joe Twyman, founder of the Delta poll. We'll be using him lots. It is 3.5 more years of this, peeps, but we'll get there. 23 minutes to 10 o'clock. Julia at 10. This is Talk Breakfast.
across the UK. On DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back to Talk Breakfast, 20 minutes to 10 o'clock. Julia from 10, Ian Collins, you heard it there, the best voice in the afternoons, and Peter Cardwell, that's you. Just an impression, not a good one. Obviously, he's on drive time this afternoon from 4 o'clock. Hello to John in Poole. Morning, Jez. Please, please, please do not show any more close-up headshots of Starmer, Reeves and Rayner. I was trying to eat my breakfast. When I looked up at the usual screen, I threw up. Breakfast at 20 to 10. We've been up since 4. Where have you been, you part-timer? Helen in Yorkshire. I like your shirt. It's fine. Just don't wear specs. I only do that in private because I can't read the book. Collins in Corby. Morning, Jez. Starmer does have a vision, and that's to rejoin the EU. See, I wouldn't disagree with that. David's in New Cross. Great to hear Rod Middle. Is that a typing thing, or are you taking the mickey? He's called Rod Liddle. Can he come on every week? Great show. Come on, you Lions. Oh, get off. Is that Millwall, isn't it? Come on, you dreadful. Shout out to Watford, by the way, Ryan's team, who were 38th. They're now second. Such a ding. Susan, I was struggling, Jez, to get a job 15 years ago. Hundreds of applications and no interviews. An HR specialist told me to say I have a disability and it would guarantee me an interview. She told me they would not be able to ask for any details about that specific disability. Jesus Christ. Honestly, man, do you hear that? Mix in Wallington. Police chiefs are frightened to confront aggressive protesters as they reduce standards for public order training, and many officers are not robust enough to carry a shield. Keith's in Oswestry. Your age and the Botox. I'm getting increasingly concerned, Jez, about your constant 3-minute trips to the loo during the ad breaks. I'll be 75 in a few days, and my friend, he says it can only get worse. Can I just point out that I've only been to the loo? Why am I justifying how many times I've been to the loo? I've only been once. And why are you looking like that, Mark? Mark's sat on a bleeding what's it called? Commode. He's been on a commode since the morning at 4 o'clock. I'm only joking. 0344 499 1000. Hello, Scott. How you doing, kid?
You just can't help but think to yourself that every establishment and people in power in this country are nothing more than gutless, lying cowards, no backbone. You know, they're constantly lying to justify their own actions, to save their own skins, to keep their jobs in jobs that they don't deserve. Most people now in power are all middle management, over-promoted, spineless cowards. They can't do what's best for the country. They only want to do what's best for themselves, to save their own skins most of the time. You know, I mean, things need to change. You know, Layla Cunningham, I'm over the moon that she's going to London now. She's going to absolutely tear Sadiq Khan a new one. And it's not like he can use the race card against her.
He's going to tear Sadiq Khan a new one. I've no idea what that means. Who's this? Somebody anonymously says, I think that when Reform UK come into power, we should declare it our own British Independence Day, the day that we're freed from the clutches of a socially beautiful country, and nothing more than gutless lying cowards who with their actions are constantly pushing law-abiding citizens and letting the guilty go free on every single level. I'll tell you what I want to touch upon very, very quickly. Mel Stride said it, the Deputy Shadow Chancellor, earlier on from College Green, that today Tories are going to do their best to cause revolt as Labour begins this dreadful, dreadful bill to scrap jury trials from a swathe of cases. We're delighted to say a very good morning to leading criminal defence counsel, Jeremy Dean, KC. Oh, Jeremy, you've got no light as well. I can't see your face either. How are you?
I'm sorry about that, Jeremy. I'm here. I can see you.
You poor bugger. Do you hate my shirt? Everybody else does.
Can you...
He doesn't care about my shirt. It's a lawyer. No, we're fine. Don't worry about it. Do not worry about it. It's the hour of darkness. We're calling it the dark hour here. Don't worry about it, my friend. Jeremy, listen, thank you, Jeremy. Thank you so much indeed for being on. I'm going to nail my colours to the mast. We were talking about this on the show some weeks ago. I would have thought that a jury, 12 people across the democratic, gender, whatever you want to say it, lines of a jury is absolutely the correct way for people to face a trial, because undoubtedly we have seen, I'm not going to label all of them, but there will be undoubtedly judges, magistrates with opinions, and certainly spreading it out to your peers has always been the answer. I believe this is a disgusting attempt at cutting numbers by David Lammy, and what Mel Stride said today was that they are going to try and scrap the vote. They think there's many Labour and other MPs who are against it. What are your views on this plan by our Justice Secretary, my friend?
Well, Jeremy, I've been addressing juries for the last 42 years. You won't come across anyone who's a more fervent supporter of the jury system than me. There's no logic to this proposal. There's no evidence that this proposal will lead to any productive results. It's just an astonishingly empty and pointless proposal, and it's one which will damage one of the most important constitutional features of our society.
What do you think the theory behind it is? I mean, we talk about, you know, we've got these long lists of trials. I'll throw something out that you'll probably think is a bit outspoken. I remember after those awful Southport riots when Keir Starmer, quite rightly at that point, I have to say, sent police that I didn't think we had onto the streets to arrest people in a heartbeat, put them in courts that I didn't think were available, and then find them jail space that I was told was sadly missing. But there was a point to all of that. They managed to buck the trend and the system. How can we not come up with a better idea to deal with this long backlog of cases than getting rid of jury trials? There must be a better answer, isn't there?
There is a better answer. There's clearly a better answer. The answer to your first question is lack of thought, lack of proper strategic consideration, lack of consultation.
Yeah.
The proposal is born of ignorance as to how the system really works. The answer lies in more court sitting days, making more court time available, cutting down wastage in the trial process. It does not depend on the abolition of juries. It's a completely unjustified proposal, and it's born of lack of proper research and consideration.
If Lammy gets this bill through, and certainly one would imagine he would, as he's got a working majority, I would sort of believe that the next government, be it Reform, Conservative, Liberal Democrat maybe even, would immediately reinstate it. I don't think I've met anybody who thinks it's a good idea.
Well, firstly, Jeremy, I don't necessarily believe that this proposal will get through. There is
really?
No, I don't. I think there is so much opposition to this because however you're politically inclined, the jury system is part of the natural instinct of the British citizen.
Yeah.
So I'm not convinced this will get through at all. And everybody knows that it's not been properly considered or thought through. On your point about a subsequent government, I mean, the last thing we need is some other government coming in and causing yet more chaos. We need to stop this happening. It's wrong, it's unfair, it's un-British, and it's not justified, and it needs to be halted before it's implemented.
So you would believe and hope that Mel Stride and the Tory party and Reform, and maybe those many, and this is a relevant point, those many Labour MPs who are against this idea would, you know, collaborate today and get this thrown out. I mean, I was thinking, and I'm not a great fan of the House of Lords, I'm sure they will take a dim view of this when this arrives before them, won't they?
Yeah, look, Jeremy, however conservative you are or however left-wing you are, you know, you believe in the jury system. Yeah. I mean, we've all grown up with the jury system. We trust the jury system. Yeah. So I think David Lammy is going to have a shock in store. I don't think this is going to get through.
I can only hope that you are right. It's an absolute pleasure. We so appreciate you being on the show, Jeremy. Jeremy Dean, KC, leading criminal defence counsel, saying, and I think quite rightly there, that this... I mean, we label him Calamity Lammy and we make fun of him, but is David Lammy, is he not yet another example of a front bench that isn't intelligent enough, isn't switched on enough to be in the role that he's in? He's our Justice Secretary, he's our Deputy Prime Minister. He thinks that the way to end the long backlog of court cases is to basically get rid of jury trials. The very, if you like, the very lifeblood of what made our democracy legally what it was. Love your thoughts on that. Voice notes still welcome on 0344 499 1000. You can also text the show on 87222. Julia here, of course, at 10 o'clock. Back in 3.
Some breaking news this morning revealed that under the Terrorist Act, 242 people were arrested in the year to June of this year.
As something you can indulge in, as to all the people who aren't going to prison because, well, there's no prison spaces.
So this is a Talk exclusive. We've been looking at...
I said, you take these cuffs off me and speak to me like a human being rather than a common criminal.
You're just left wondering, does these people who lead us actually hate Britain?
Yeah.
Do they not love our country and everything that we've stood for?
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Just sitting here thinking, it's nice to hear when you get to my age and you need to go to the toilet the whole time, an advert for Always Discreet for bladder leaks. Mark has been a major part of this show, so he's done a fantastic job, as has Damien, or we call him G-Spot, because you can barely find him. Christian, of course, and Ryan today, and that lovely lady whose name, oh, God... Nahar is a legend, by the way. I'm so crap at her name. Big Mark, though, gets a bit of an attitude by Thursday. I said, how long on the ad break? And I said to him, he said, oh, so many questions. Grumpy. Got to feel sorry for Mrs. Mark. Let's start with some text messages. Loads in the news, as we know. We talked about Scotland Yard failing to properly vet thousands of officers, allowing rapists, racists and violent criminals to join the forces. They, along with 6 police forces, are we allowed to call them forces, actually threw out employment checks so they could get people through the door, fill out numbers and tick boxes. That's caused real derision today, as has Labour's planned fuel duty rise. I don't know if you'll remember this, but March 2022, fuel was going all over the place, and the Tories made a decision in power then to cut it by 5p, which helped a lot of people, a lot of businesses, actually, and that's to be increased again by Keir Starmer. Yet another lie. Paul says, fuel rise will mean that everything rise. Simples. You're right, of course. Lorries that transport our food on pallets will have to buy more diesel or more fuel, and that will cost more. Oh, my God, you're all going for it this morning. Christina, hi, Jez. End of jury trials, dictatorship at its most evil. I'm a great believer in karma. General election required. Great show. Jenny, a very good morning to you. She says, how the police have changed, Jez. My dad was the village police bobby. A local youth was giving him a mouthful whilst he was on duty. My dad went after him as he ran into the local shop thinking he was safe. My dad slapped him round the head. The lad says, I'm going to tell my dad on you. And my dad said, that's OK. I went to school with your dad. Do you want me to apologise, or should we both go to your dad's and tell him what you did? Do you know what? Jenny, that's such a great story, because nowadays they go, well, you've slapped him. You must be put in prison for about 8 years and the child needs millions of pounds worth of compensation. Yeah, common sense policing. Told the story before. A mate of mine's dad was a bobby on the beat, right? And they would literally spend hours. The old lady that had her house broken into, put a new lock on the back door, make her a cup of tea, make sure she's all right. Now you just fill in a computer form from your office and don't even go out. And that is what is so fundamentally wrong. I don't understand Paul in Dunoon, but thank you for your message. Good morning, Sharon.
I don't think that children, because they are still children at 16, should have a vote. I actually think it should be 21. Because at least, hopefully, by 21, they'll have had a job, they know tax, they know everything that's coming at them from politics. It's just starting to seep in, I think, at 21. They're just starting to see life as it is, not as, a child. 16, they're just going to listen to the friends. If my friend Rosie is going to vote that way, I'm going to vote that way, which is absolutely ludicrous. We're talking about governing the country, which is absolutely crazy to think. It's only the Labour that's deciding to do all this so that they know that they're going to get some extra votes.
It's absolutely crazy. Sharon, you're amazing. We love that. Your friend Rosie. Can I just say I was slightly distracted in that because my son Henry, 17 in a minute, has just landed in Portugal for 3 months of warm weather golf training because he's going to be a very successful golfer. He's just sent me a picture from the plane. And old Grumpy Mark said it again. I showed him, he went, yeah, whatever. Also, when I say whatever, it rhymes with it. We have warned you about Storm Goretti. I'm not trying to be over the top here. Big weather bomb coming. Storm Goretti today. Up to 12 inches of snow expected. Plus, of course, dangerous winds from south to north. Already winds on the south coast. That'll be joyous, walking on the beach later. In Aberdeen, 12 inches of snow. Wayne's got a comment on the weather. Morning, Wayne.
Storm Goretti, eh? My God, what a country have we become now? Every storm's got a name on it. This country's had weather for 1,000 years. Bad weather, good weather. And yet you've got to keep giving it names when you have a storm. This is the nanny state gone ridiculous. Plus net zero.
Do you know what I end up this week after 4 days of the brand new Jeremy Kyle Breakfast Show thinking everybody brilliantly is as miserable as I am. Jez, I have had a really nice hospitality event at a fancy place in London today, cancelled due to Storm Goretti. I explained I were from north and would just put my big coat on. It's winter after all, and what's all the fuss? They said in a rather pompous voice, my dear boy, it's the northern unions that govern the railways, and we are expecting huge cancellations as soon as the first snowflake lands on any railway line. I'm afraid we're going to have to cancel your event. Are we soft in this country? You know, leaves online, snow online. Thank you, Lash. Hello, Steve. What's he been called, Lash? No. Steve, morning, Jez. Pubs. If the politicians close pubs and restaurants, then all that food that will not be brought from the farmers will just make it easier to cut those farms off at the knees, absolutely making the farmers go under with a whimper and not anything else. Reg, good morning. How are you? How on earth can Labour now be called the party for the working people when the Prime Minister doesn't even know how to spell or address a working class person? Lynn in East Yorkshire seems to like this show. Bless you, you need therapy. Tony's in Wiltshire. Morning, JC. Brilliant. Can't even spell my bloody name. They want to lower the drink drive limit simply to align us with EU regulations. And Kev Graham, it's an interesting combination, only 7 days after the liar Starmer went public telling us all how we will all be better off, he's increasing fuel tax. At 3 minutes to 10, my morning is made. The delectable, the talented, the delightful next ex-Mrs. Kyle. Good morning, Julia.
Very, very good morning to you, sir.
How are you?
It just keeps getting worse and worse, doesn't it? The story that's absolutely got me this morning is the rapists and violent thugs hired by the Met because they thought, oh, we've got to get some more diverse officers in and we desperately need to get more officers.
Took employment checks out of six forces.
But you do employment checks when... My daughter got a job in a bar and she had employment checks. Someone who's a police officer, no employment checks. Here's the thing. It's like, you know, it was only... I mean, one guy, he'd only been questioned and suspected of child rape. So it wasn't like it was anything important, like, you know, misgendering anyone.
What about they are saying that known criminals will have got into the police to undermine the security and get data in?
No. Do you think they do that?
I don't know. Do you want a yoghurt? With granola on top? I didn't eat it. Do you not want to get you? Do you don't want that?
No.
Nice of me, though. Tidied up the studio.
Nice of you to hand over food you don't want. I mean,
see, there's always a
second-hand
cynicism.
food you don't want.
I am going to break you down and make you a nice person.
Listen, if you're going to... If you're going to
I want you to waltz in here and go, morning, darling. Try it. Say morning,
I want a bacon sandwich. If you're going to give me something good, give me a bacon
at 10
sandwich.
o'clock, if I get you a bacon sandwich, will you say thank you, darling?
Oh!
Come on, I'll get will you?
Warm, nice buttery salt and pepper, bacon sarnie, good doorstop bread.
Red or
No,
brown sauce?
not red or brown. No.
Salt and pepper?
Salt and pepper.
What, hard pepper or white pepper? Hard pepper. What the hell's hard pepper?
Going on with
right,
you?
Ryan, you lot make a note.
Make it stop.
The main woman wants a big doorstep bacon sandwich with salt and pepper
and
on
I'll
Monday.
eat it through the show.